And here we go. We have liftoff. Propulsion continues to be normal.
RA-68 chamber pressure looks good.
Rolling up. Roger, roll, planet.
Water towers fly! Yes!
Tango down to nominal.
Flight downside FD off. Bring in FD off. Off. It's orange!
Oh my god! Oh my god!
Decollage.
Look at this!
Put that in the big bag,
343 unfolds to go.
Indeed.
We rise together, back to the moon and beyond.
This methane will be igniting in the flare, correct?
Yikes. You dead? Sure. We don't need any more of these.
Hello everybody and welcome to yet another Starship testing stream. And for the first time in a few months, this is a Starship testing stream that has absolutely nothing to do with Starship Flight 3, because we see Ship 29, the Starship poised to be the second stage of Starship Flight 4 on Suborbital Pad B, with the recondenser going at the tank farm, the suborbital tank farm. So yeah, this is quite the step forwards, considering that Flight 3 is still on the ground. So the ramp up in testing and preparation for the following flight, Starbase is just, you know, it was quiet at the start of the week, and then yesterday, at the click of the fingers, everything started going all at once. So we've got things coming in from Flight 3, which I'm sure people want to talk about, but the star of today's stream, at least, is going to be this Starship right here. My name's Ryan Caton. I'll be your host for at least the start of today, but it's not just me you'll have to listen to, because alongside me I also have Trevor Sesnick.
Yes, hello.
Short but sweet. And someone who wanted me to prolong this intro so he could get a few bites of his sandwich, Mr. Alex. Hello, Alex.
You don't need to mention any of that, boy. You put it way hard on me. Okay, hi everyone. Yes, Flight 4 testing already. That sounds crazy to think about.
Indeed. So, of course, everyone, I'd hope that unless you're new, you should know the drill by now. Tag us in chat at NASASpaceflight, all of your questions, comments, things you think we should mention, all of that jazz. So yeah, that's how things roll. First of all, I'm seeing a bunch of support in here, many of it from over 24 hours ago. So to everyone who was becoming members and super chatting and things like an entire day before we even got going, thank you very much. But just as we've got going here, Ali has kicked things off with an absolutely insane number of gifted memberships, 50 Red Team memberships. Thank you ever so much, not only because you're supporting NSF, but also because 50 people who might not necessarily be able to afford their own Red Team membership now have one for free. And Ali's name is one that is very common in chat. And of course, everybody watching, we're not asking, begging for these things, you know. Everybody watching, you're helping us, right? Just by watching, you're helping us, right? But this is extra special support that Ali has chosen to do. And we are, of course, extra grateful for the extra support that we get. That's just an insane number of memberships, and of course everyone in chat, if you receive one of them, make sure to thank them, because yeah, that is an insane number. And Ryan, that's a good name, with the $5 super chat, asking, any updates on the FAA license? Is Thursday actually happening, or when do you think it will fly? We are, of course, here mentioning Starship Flight 3. I don't think we cannot talk about it. It's kind of the biggest thing in the news right now. Trevor, I'll throw this to you first. Do we have any updates on the license?
Yeah, so I think I'll start this off with just a little overview of where we are for those who may not have been paying attention. So as you can see on your screen right now, there is the Flight 3 vehicles. On Sunday, those completed a full wet dress rehearsal, which SpaceX later confirmed was successful. Following that, they destacked as we expected, and there will now begin the FTS install and any other final work that needs to be done on the ship ahead of this flight. So yesterday, following all of that, SpaceX made a post on their website and a post on X saying that they are targeting no earlier than Thursday, so a week from today, pending regulatory approval for Flight 3 of Starship. So then, of course, the question is, SpaceX seems to be ready. How are things with the FAA? And all indications point to the FAA being very close to issuing the launch license to SpaceX. The FAA they made a statement a few weeks ago that they have closed out the mishap investigation report of Flight 2, which that was the primary work that needed to be done before issuing this license. And then there were 17 corrective actions that SpaceX had to undergo. Those seem to all be complete. So hopefully any day now we'll be seeing the launch license. My guess is it won't be coming this week, but sometime early to mid next week, it's very possible that the launch license would come out, say, late on Wednesday for a launch on Thursday. So I think next week is absolutely possible at this point, which is kind of scary that it's so soon, but also super exciting.
And Astro95 Media with the $20 saying,
Ooh.
got my hotel booked for IFT3 next week. Applied for remote setup credentials again as well. Hope to see you around. Thanks again for the
I know that
amazing
name.
coverage. So yeah, hopefully I won't be there. Alex won't be there, and I don't think Trevor will be there. But I definitely know that Das has been trying to get things organised as well. I've also got some of the SBL people going down. Sean is, of course, always around. Jack is going to be going down soon. So, you know, the gang's getting back together for Starship Flight 3. And I think...
lots of things in the planning.
Yes. We're all
No leaks.
We're all very excited. No leaks, but I can say we're all very excited, and the gang is getting back together very, very soon. I'm going to look through here. That's not English. I'm going to look through for some questions. Beans, very simple question, which I'll throw to you, Alex. Flight 4 when?
So we had the first flight in April, right? And then we had to wait around 7 months to get the second launch. That was in November. And now we have the third launch 4 months later. My guess is this time around it will be like 2.5, 3 months instead. That's my take. So May, June timeframe.
Okay. And Charlie asking, what are they doing inside that chine on Booster 10? We saw I think there was a clip posted to the NSF Twitter as well. They removed a bit of the chine. So what are they doing in there, Alex?
Yeah, we believe it's just part of the final checks. They're looking at things that they may have concerns about, or they want to take a look at them and things like that. I'm surprised they haven't removed the hot staging ring, to be fair. Because, you know, for Flight 2, they removed that a lot of times. But yeah, we've also seen them, you know, inspecting the tiles on Ship 28. We have seen them do testing with a suction cup and trying to see, you know, if the tiles stick around. This is the moment to do that, right? It's not after flight like Ship 25. Ship 25 didn't get that treatment. That's why a lot of the tiles fell off during the flight of Ship 25. So for Ship 28, they're actually taking care of the tiles this time around. They're properly testing them and making sure that they don't fall off. And those that do fell off, then during this testing, then they are able to replace on time before the launch happens. So we're seeing a lot of these, you know, preparations ahead of the launch where both vehicles are being you know, taken care of, they're being checked out, and also, I guess, the ground systems. The only thing is that these ground systems, most of them are a little bit more hidden, out of view. I'm mostly sure they're also trying to, you know, to look through the OLM and things like that. Some scaffolding is still up there on the OLM. We'll probably see those being removed before the flight happens. But yeah, there you see some of that installed, and Yeah, just usual work. We've seen that for the past 2 flights, and the more work that they can do while they wait for paperwork to go out, that's work that ensures that this flight works. So good for them.
Blushy Boy has gifted one Red Team membership. Thanks very much for that. And RC Horseman, if you thought 50 Red Team memberships was berserk, we've got another berserk one. RC Horseman, $100 tip. Thank you ever so much. And I'm just going to reiterate what I said earlier as well. We greatly appreciate this, but there is no requirement for any of this. There's absolutely no requirement for any of this. We just want to hang out with all of you in chat, right? That's what NSF is all about. But RC Horseman, yet another very common name. Thank you ever so much, because that is an insane amount of support that will be put straight back in to NSF things, to do all of the things that we do. So, Jack is much better at doing this sort of thing than I am. But yeah, thank you ever so much. But I'm very cognizant of the fact that I don't want people to, we're grateful for everybody, but especially to RC Horseman for this $100 tip. It is, insane. Thank you so much. And Gnome Geezer with the $5 asking, where is the 43 acres located that SpaceX is getting from Texas Parks and Wildlife? Alex, I think you're probably the best person to give this one a crack.
Yeah, it's basically sort of in the direction that we're looking here on this camera, towards the production site. It's right next to the suborbital pad, to the west of the suborbital pad. So yeah, it's just a little bit of land that they're gonna have added to the launch site. We believe it is most likely gonna be as kind of support land kind of thing for the second orbital launch pad that they are building. Because now we know that it's gonna be around that place on the suborbital pad, that they're gonna remove that and they're gonna put a second launch pad. They have already started. You can see some of the machinery there in the background. That they have already started some of the work already on that pad. We don't know what exactly they're doing in that kind of work. What area will the tower be placed in the general vicinity of the suborbital pad? But it's going to be in that area. And the extra added area that they are adding, it's next to the suborbital pad. Yeah.
Oh my days. I don't know if any of you have the panel open, but I'm getting an error 404 in my brain right now. Ryan.exe has stopped working because Ali kicking off the stream with 50 gifted Red Team memberships. I mean, I think everyone's got a bit of Starship fever at the moment, because that is a $200 tip. Is this thing on? I think it is on because it's coming to the panel. I think that's how it works. I think it is indeed on. I've run out of words in order to properly and adequately describe the immense amount of support that actually is. I need a thesaurus. If anyone can get me a thesaurus right now, that would be greatly appreciated. Because I genuinely do not know how to properly express the gratitude for the I mean, we've been going for 10 minutes and we've already got an insane amount of support. This is what I'd expect over maybe a week or a month. Not 10 minutes. This is just bonkers.
Yeah, I think it's just worth reiterating the thanks, because this is really what allows us to bring these views to everyone by these people's very generous support. So, everyone just thank them for views, thank them for allowing us to send Jack and everyone down to Starbase. It's just ridiculous. Thank you so much.
Yeah. And I feel like I might be repeating this many times today, but this is not required. This is not expected. This is obviously greatly appreciated. But we just want to hang out with you guys. Like that's all we want to do. This is just like the biggest icing on the biggest cake possible. So thank you so much, Ali. It is of course greatly appreciated, and I know that you know that because you're always in chat, you're always hanging out, and you're obviously always supporting us like this. It is greatly appreciated. So yeah, thank you so much. That's all. That's pretty much all I can say. It doesn't feel like enough, but that's all I can say. Let's have a look through here for some more questions. And of course, for those of you just joining us, everybody in chat, anybody, you don't need to super chat or tip or store message or anything like that to get your question in the queue. Just tag us at NASASpaceflight, at the channel name. It'll come into the queue here, and we'll select some of the best to answer on stream. Such as this one from Robert asking, landing in the Indian Ocean now, why the change? Trevor, why is the Starship for Flight 3, again, this may get a little confusing, this question is about Flight 3, the stream is about Flight 4, why is Flight 3's landing, or landing in quotes, in the Indian Ocean compared to near Hawaii in the Pacific Ocean?
Yeah, this is a very good question. So, SpaceX is attempting to do several more demonstrations on this flight than they did on the previous missions. On the previous missions, the flight profile that we were seeing was they were just trying to get into the suborbital almost orbit, is what I'm going to call it. And then from there, they were just going to, since it wasn't quite orbital, the ship would just start re-entering the atmosphere and splash down, if all goes well, around Hawaii. But since the last flight went so well, SpaceX is thinking, why don't we start increasing the number of test objectives on this mission? And one of those test objectives that SpaceX is wanting to do is do a Raptor in-space relight demo. So at T plus 40 minutes and 46 seconds, they will ignite a single one of the sea-level engines on Starship and perform a fake deorbit burn. So even though they already would be re-entering, this will ensure that they re-enter closer to the Indian Ocean. I believe that burn is expected to last about 10 seconds. And then the two other things that SpaceX is wanting to test on this flight that they weren't on previous flights is they're going to be doing a demonstration of opening the payload door, which is of course something that Ship 24 and Ship 25 couldn't do, not only because they blew up before reaching before stage shutdown, but also because they were welded shut. So that's something SpaceX wants to demonstrate. And then the final thing is they want to do the propellant transfer demo that we heard NASA talking a little bit about. So at T plus 24 minutes and 31 seconds, they will be transferring propellant between the header tanks and the main tanks in the first of what will be many tests until we see eventual propellant transfer between two ships.
Talking whilst muted. And whilst you were giving us that very excellent answer, Chris, not our Chris, a different Chris, with a $50 super chat saying, Hangouts need beer money, here's more. I mean, everyone who's supporting is
Ryan.
yeah, everyone who's supporting is breaking my brain today. Of course, Chris, thank you ever so much. And Bideford, oh my days,
Wow.
Bideford is now in here as well.
Anybody have words for Ryan? I
I
think
need
we
words.
need that.
I
more
don't
than
need the
beer.
super chats. I need super words. That's what
Exactly. Super
I need. But of course, Chris, thank you so much for the support. It is greatly appreciated. And Bideford, yet another common name in chat. Thank you so much for the support. It is, of course, greatly appreciated. I feel like I'm a bit of a broken record, but it is all I can say. Thank you so much for the support. I wish I could say more, but I can't because that's all I can say. But thank you so much. I'm seeing a lot of the same question in here. which I don't know whether this should be directed at Adrian and the store team, but many people, including Six String Simpleton, is asking, will there be a patch redesign because it's no longer going to splash down near Hawaii? I don't think so. I think it's I think because the patches have to be like bulk ordered in, like once we run out of the number of patches we have now, they're gone forever. So I don't think we're going to get another order in just with like the Indian Ocean instead. But you never know. Flight 4 patch, when that comes around, I have a feeling that I just to be clear here, I have absolutely zero insight into the store team and what they do. So, but I don't know. Maybe Flight 4 patch will have something to do with the Indian Ocean. And I'm not just saying that. I genuinely have no idea what the store team does until they publicly announce it to all of you, and I get to see as well. So there you go. But the Flight 3 patch is going to stay the same because it has to be ordered in bulk. And Rough Rider Show, I have absolutely no idea who this is, with the $9.99 saying Gary the Grackle fan club. I have a feeling that's a bit of a niche in our community. I don't know who sent that, and I don't think they have absolutely anything to do with NSF. But thank you very much, Gage. Who's Gage? I don't know who Gage is. Let's move on there. Westy the Third saying, when do you think, or what do we think the mission objectives will be for Flight 4? Alex, I'll start off with you. Obviously, this is pending Flight 3 doing everything they said they were going to do.
See, my thinking is they may do a similar mission, but perhaps trying something new. Because at the end of the day, if you look at the mission profile of Flight 3, it is essentially like what they planned for Flight 1 and Flight 2. The only difference now, in terms of the trajectory itself, right? And like the ascent portion, when things occur during ascent and things like that, it is, in the great scheme of things, about the same as Flight 1 and Flight 2, more even to Flight 2 than Flight 1, because it is also using hot staging, for example. The only difference now, it gets to the Indian Ocean rather than the Pacific Ocean, but it's still a suborbital trajectory kind of thing. It is not going to be deploying anything of value, I guess. They could surprise us and deploy some little silly thing out of the payload when they open it. But other than that, we really haven't seen them actually installing a flight, Starlink or something like that on it, right? On Ship 28. So I'm thinking Ship 29 might be along the same lines, where they just try to repeat it again, where they prove to themselves that, yes, it works. This thing that we did with Ship 28, it works with the next one. Sort of like they did with SN5 and SN6 when they went ahead and flew again with SN6. You can also think about it like SN8, where, sure, the landing didn't work, but SN9, 10, 11, and 15 all went to the same ascent, belly flop, and all that stuff, right? You could think that maybe they'll keep trying until they get through re-entry. That could be another alternative as well there, where they keep trying this sort of same profile, perfecting the flight up, the sort of coast in space and things like that, and then the re-entry as well. That could be a way. I can see, once they go through all of the V1 starships, then attempt a proper orbit with V2. That's my thinking. But we'll see.
And Grebo is asking, did Falcon 9 failed booster landings have mishap investigations in the early days? How could the Starship program use a similar mission plan to reduce or separate investigations going forward? Now, Alex, I'm going to direct this one to you as well, because the boosters got near the drone ship, got on the drone ship in some cases, and in the case of CRS-16, nearly made it back to land. Did those require mishap investigations like Starship does?
No, because of how the FAA classifies things as mishap investigations. The Falcon 9 landing failures were not within that, precisely because they were, first of all, the regime in their flight where this happened was towards the end, right? Basically, once it was already near the ground, it was already out of, all of the... explaining all of this in detail will take probably its own video. But essentially, and this was also with the old rules, which were much more strict, by the way. Now, the new rules also include the experimental landings of boosters, experimental landings of orbital spacecraft, and things like that. For prior licenses, you had licensing for reentry that was somewhat different. The reentry was for only orbital spacecraft. It was only, for example, the Varda space capsule that re-entered recently. That was with the new reentry licenses. And so the definitions of a mishap were different in the past than with the new ones. The new ones are a little bit more softer in some senses, and they are also more descriptive. Like they go more in detail about what they mean by each of the definitions and all of the different conditions and things like that basically is essentially classed as a mishap. Those Falcon 9 booster landing failures did not enter into the old definitions of a mishap. And I assume, given the current definitions of a mishap, if the booster goes through entry and basically fails just the part of the landing, right? Like it doesn't slow down enough and crashes in the ocean or things like that, I could see that as not carrying out a mishap investigation. And so that is sort of how I think it is after looking at all of this documentation for a long time in the past few weeks and months. So that is basically the short answer. Like the long answer will be having to make its own video, and yeah, that's a problem.
Lava Ash with the $10, thanks very much, asking, will there be a payload on board or payload simulator for Flight 3? Trevor, have we had any indications of a payload or payload simulator inside of Ship 28?
No, we're expecting it to be the same thing as on the last flight, where there won't be anything in view fairing. However, they will dump liquid oxygen and fuel overboard during ascent to mimic the loads and everything that they would have on the vehicle as if they did have a payload on top.
And Jeff Rowe gifting 5 Red Team memberships. Ryan also gifting 5 Red Team memberships. And Michael also gifting 5 Red Team memberships. And Telstar also gifting 5 Red Team memberships. That's a very popular, there's a nice little 5 Red Team membership gift train going on right now. So thank you very much, everybody, for all of those. And of course, if you received one of them, make sure to thank them. Your gifter, I don't know. Felix asking, with a $5 super chat, by landing in the Indian Ocean, doesn't that pose a security risk to bad actors collecting hardware? Alex, will anyone try and collect hardware, and why? Could that be different from the Pacific Ocean?
In terms of difficulty, I mean, if the bad actors have enough money in the bank, right? They can go anywhere in the globe, so it makes it easier in sense of it's closer to home, I guess, to some of the bad actors, and so I don't know. Like we already see a lot of bad actors, so to speak, already offshore from Cape Canaveral for Falcon 9 missions. So it's pretty much the same risk, I should say. Yeah.
And I mean, this isn't anything new. Like every expendable rocket ever has the exact same problem.
Have you just seen EJ comment? He says, "We will find tiles in eBay." It is true, because then at the end of the day, you see people from the US themselves selling these things on eBay. So I would worry more about the people from the US finding these things rather than bad actors.
Yeah. Stefan has become a Red Team member. Thanks very much. And Telstar again with the 9.99 GBP, Great British Pound Sterling, saying thank you NSF for your continued coverage, making it entertaining and informative. Keep up the great work. And you're looking forward to the Flight 3 stream. I'm looking forward to the Flight 3 stream as well. Alex, are you looking forward to the Flight 3 stream? great to hear, Alex. Great to hear that you're very much looking forward to the Flight 3 stream.
Sorry, I'm here.
He's probably
Boy.
eating his sandwich.
Shut
Are you
up.
eating your sandwich? Are you eating your sandwich, Alex?
No,
Are you sure?
I was just muted, and I have to unmute, and so I took a little bit more. But yeah, the IFT3 stream, we're not going to cover IFT3, though. There's no such thing as IFT3. In-flight abort test or something? Is that what it stands for? Anywho, yes, we're going to have a great stream. We have lots of things prepared. I was sort of part of the people preparing a lot of these things. But yeah. Wonderful graphics, by the way. Just saying. They are so wonderful, right, Ryan? They're wonderful.
Yes. I think the person who created them, he should definitely get a raise. Maybe, I don't know, 10x. That might be suitable. I don't know. I don't actually know who made them, but I think they should, just saying. Another super chat here from I'm too slick for you. I think that's what that means, saying love you all, keep up the great work, go SpaceX. Thanks very much for the support. The $10 there. And,
I wanted you to say y'all, because I've never heard someone with a British accent say y'all.
Yeah, because I'm not. Because that's not a word here. That's not a thing. So I'm not.
I'll try to imitate it, but then it will sound very weird and very bad, and it will probably mess with a lot of people. So I won't do it. But yeah, Ryan, do it.
No.
Oh, come on. Just a little bit.
No. Moving on swiftly. Werner von Kerman is saying, do you think the payload door test and all other stuff that a near future flight could carry Starlinks?
Yeah, that's definitely what SpaceX is building up for. It was over a year ago at this point, or was it 2 years ago, when Elon sent the email over Thanksgiving that was like, oh, we need to get Raptor V2 production up so that we can launch Starlink V2, which will allow SpaceX to be profitable, else we may run out of money, or something like that, which was obviously like not going to happen. It was just Elon wanting the program to move quicker. But that's very much the goal, that SpaceX wants to be able to add this capacity to launching Starlink as soon as humanly possible. So I think it's very possible that on flight, 5 or so, they will already be carrying Starlinks.
Michael Oliver asking, will the Starship do a powered landing? SpaceX has filed a request to do powered landings in the ocean. Since SpaceX has filed a request to do powered landings in the Indian Ocean? ? Alex,
No,
you already started
they haven't.
answering.
Yes, I know already what that is talking about. No, they haven't. That is just how to explain this. When Falcon Heavy center cores are expanded, SpaceX says on the FCC documentation that is going to be doing a soft splashdown. I'll tell you that center core is certainly not doing a soft splashdown while it's expanded. So the same kind of wording they used for, it is not even a request to do that. It's just like a description of the thing that they're gonna do with a Starship while they have a Starlink terminals. So that document, that document that Michael Oliver is referring to is a sort of an adjacent document to a permit where they request to carry Starlink terminals on Starship. Because if you remember from the past 2 flights, Starlink terminals have been already installed on previous Starlink flights as well. This one will carry more Starlink terminals, by the way. So that's another change they have introduced for this flight. Hopefully that will get us some nice live views from the vehicles during flight. Let's knock on wood. But yeah, and so this documentation has been ongoing since 2021, well before the first flight happened, basically since May 2021. And in every single one of these permits where they request to the FCC, the Federal Communications Commission, hey, we want to put a Starlink terminals on Starship. Can we do that, please? They always say, it'll do a power-targeted landing on insert ocean, right? On the first few flights, it was, or basically until November of last year, it was technically October, because that was the last permit that I saw that had powered targeted landing in the Pacific Ocean. But we all know that Flight 1, neither Flight 2, had that in the plans. They basically were just splashing down with the ship, going down to the ground, or basically to the ocean in this case, at terminal velocity. And the same thing, the same wording is on the two that have already been released that explain what is the plan for the ones that go to the Indian Ocean. My takeaway from that is don't pay attention to that. It doesn't really mean that it's going to do a flip and burn. It just means that it's going to crash against the Indian Ocean. And that's the plan that they have. Because again, we have seen it for Falcon, where they have Falcon Heavy Center Core will be expended with a soft splashdown in the water. It's like, well, if it's expended, it's not doing a soft splashdown. It's crashing at 3 kilometers per second against the ocean. Like, it is not a soft splashdown. That thing doesn't have any fuel to do that, right? So, right. That's my long rant about that, because I've seen it a lot of times. I saw it back when that documentation went out in November. I think it was November 10th when it went out for the first time for the Indian Ocean. I saw that, and a lot of people were saying, it's an orbital flight because it needs to go into orbit and do a deorbit burn in order to get into the Indian Ocean. Now we know that it's actually not going even to our orbit to reach the Indian Ocean, and also that the power targeted landing, whatever, is just things that they write for the sake of writing. I don't know. Like, it's not done at the end of the day.
Okay. There is... Where's it gone? Death Ruddles is asking, I get the impression something new is coming for the Flight 3 coverage. Can you tell us when the secret will be released? Well, the impression you're getting, you're absolutely right. Something new is coming for the Flight 3 coverage, but it was released a while ago, and that thing is the Flight 3 patch, which you can get now at shop.nasaspaceflight.com. There it is in all its glory. If you want a patch, you can get the patch. There it is. Look at that. Oh, beautiful patch. I wonder who shot that video. Wonderful patch. Oh, look at that. Look at that.
Totally not
You
you.
like the music too? The music doesn't come with the patch, I'm afraid. The patch doesn't play music, and the patch doesn't animate like it does in the transition. But
We
the
need
patch
to
is
ask
there.
Adrian for it.
Yep. We should sell a CD of the NSF music with the patch on the store. But there you go. Shop.nasaspaceflight.com is where you can get the patch, which is the new thing for the Flight 3 coverage. There you go. Oh, the music stopped. There you go. All of the different things. Oh, since when did the shop have a dark mode? I didn't know we had a dark mode. I'm testing this now myself. How do I do that? How do I get dark mode? Anyway, it's an extension. Thanks, Jay. Oh, yeah, I forgot to mention that at the start. I'm getting very off track here. I forgot to mention at the start, Jake Egan is producing. Thanks, Jay. So, look, you can get the patch on the shop.nasaspaceflight.com. 14 Great British Pounds, the correct currency. Look at that. You can get it on the shop. You can go. Add it to your cart, Jay. Go on. Add it to your cart. Go on. Thank you. There we go. Oh, look, we're live. Look, we're live. And you can leave a message. That's cool. So if you... Oh, hi, Jay. So if you want to get a patch, you can go on there right now. And because we're live, when you purchase the patch, the message comes into the queue, just like Super Chats and tips and the normal at NASA Spaceflight. So if you want to ask a question and get a patch or any other merch on the shop, you can do that just there. And it's very cool. So there you go. That's the thing. You can do that. Jay, can you show the patch video again? Sorry, I just want to listen to the music again. Jay, please, please. Okay, maybe not. Moving on. There you go. Shop.nasaspaceflight.com. If I haven't said that enough times already. Jimmy J with the 490. Oh, we got the music! Yay! Asking. Oh, here we go. I'm just going to be quiet for a bit so you can watch this in all its glory. Get the whole thing run out, because I like it.
We need DJ KMR here.
Yeah, I don't know where he is. Anyway, there you go. That's the patch. Thanks, Jay. There we go. Jimmy J with the 499 asking, I wish there was a way they could film an expended Falcon Heavy hitting the ocean, or Center Core hitting the ocean. It'd be an amazing video to see. Yeah, I'm not sure anyone would actually want to be near that, though. I agree, it would be cool to see it going at 3 kilometers per second into the Atlantic Ocean, but I'm not sure anyone would actually like to risk being close to that. Also, I imagine it might be quite loud.
I'm mostly sure it also probably breaks up during re-entry. Like I said, it impacts the ocean at 3 kilometers per second, but you gotta remember, in between the re-entry and everything, there's an atmosphere. And without griffins and bits like that, it probably breaks up. It tumbles and all that stuff, and it breaks up.
Mm-hmm. So, we've been going for a little while here, and to my untrained eye, it doesn't look like much has happened. So, Alex, what's happened?
Yeah, you're a trained eye, yeah.
Yeah.
There's actually activity. You can see there's some of that venting on the right from the suborbital tank farm. And that is essentially both the liquid oxygen side and the liquid methane side of that tank farm are active right now. So we are awaiting for propellant load to start on ship 29. And so far, we don't have any overpressure notice. It doesn't look like things may be prepared for a static fire, but you never know. So for now, we're expecting a spin prime, but hey, if they do a static fire, I'll take it. I think I'm hearing venting from the vehicle now.
I'm trying to see if I can see anything, but the cloudiness, that's a technical term, by the way. The cloudiness is definitely increased since we started.
I think we can see some of the lines already going out to the ship, Frosty. And there you can see it.
That's right next to the flap there on the base of ship 29.
Yep, that is the umbilical port. Because sometimes people call it's a quick disconnect, and I'm like, but it's not quick, and it doesn't disconnect. Like, you have to actually go out there to
If that quickly disconnects
it.
today, something has gone horrifically wrong.
Or horrifically great. Like that would mean it's launching, right? Please, another suborbital hop, please.
No,
SpaceX,
it would not mean it's launching, Alex. It means it would go pop.
But I want to launch again. The hops were cool because they were close to the ground, and we all could see them. Anyways, back to the status. You can see there some of the Frosty stuff already on that umbilical port to ship 29, and so hopefully we'll get some propellant load in just a few minutes.
It's even more cloudy. Look at that.
There's a lot of clouds in the ground now.
Yeah, the gateway to Mars sign is like nearly half obstructed there with all of the venting. And it looks like someone has been on the store, and I have a feeling that Kelsey here might have bought a patch. They have, look at that. I'm very good, I'm a mind reader, you know. Saying, go Starship, looking forward to Flight 3. We're looking forward to Flight 3 too. And Michael with the $5 saying, cool patch, what a catch. Does it come with a latch I can use to attach it to my satch? Oh, I'm sure Sawyer would really appreciate that super chat there, Michael. Unfortunately, he's not on right now, but I can make sure that's forwarded. I'll CC him in that super chat. That's the thing, right? Emails. I thought it was funnier than it was. Never mind. John has also been on the store saying thanks for great coverage from John and Phil in Derby. Hello, John and Phil. Hopefully you enjoy your patch. I'm Too Slick For You is back again saying I'm a fellow Alex and say yo. I said it. There you go, because it's a quote. I had to say it right now. But on a more serious note, do you have any speculation on how the booster will deal with the triple B? What's the triple B? I don't know what
Boost
triple B
back
is.
burn.
Boost back burn. There we go. Trevor, there you go. You spoke up. You have to answer it now.
Oh boy. Yeah, this is, the big question that I think a lot of us are wondering. In the little bit of information that SpaceX posted about the failure of Booster 9 on the previous flight, they mentioned that one of the engines had, there was some FOD that blocked a filter. Actually, we don't know that it was FOD. There was something that blocked the filter that then caused the engine to blow up, but that doesn't explain why the other engines were shutting down. The speculation within the community seems to be that there was a large fluid hammer effect that somehow started having some engines shut down. Unfortunately, SpaceX or Elon has not commented on that, so take that as speculation. But yeah, unfortunately, we really don't have a good idea about how they're going to work on the boost back burn. We know that they installed larger splosh baffles, or we speculate, I should say. They were doing work around that area. There's new weld lines. It would be very hard to imagine the work done being anything except for larger slosh baffles. So yeah, unfortunately, we don't have a super good idea of what they're going to change for that. I would imagine that the slosh baffles will help, and then also probably some slight changes in the trajectory during the flip would help, but that'll all be something that we'll have to pay attention to during liftoff of this flight.
Anonymous with a store message. There was also purchased a patch saying, I hope NSF can reach 1 million during Flight 3. We hope that too. I forgot what the number is now. Let me have a quick look.
964.
It's 964,000 people, which is an insane number. It's ticking up. It's ticking up. It's been accelerating recently. It's very exciting. Just saying. Very exciting. Alex, of course, is going to shave his head bald when we hit 1 million.
No.
Taylor-Made Productions.
No.
Taylor-Made Productions with the $5 super chat. Saying, no question, the boost back maneuver is difficult. Why don't they segment the fuel tanks fully, more like a large fuel truck or fluid tanker? That's a good question, actually, Alex, because planes do that too. They don't have one giant fuel tank. They have like sections of fuel tank each within the tank. So why don't they do that? Because the booster and the Starship are huge.
Yeah, wouldn't it be great if like 1/5 of the way up of the liquid oxygen tank, they had like another sort of bulkhead in between that had an opening through it so that the liquid oxygen could go through when it's going down, but when it's going up into the tank, it doesn't want to go up actually, because that blocks the liquid oxygen, and then it doesn't need to slosh around and everything. That could be a great idea to implement on a booster or a reusable booster of a rocket. Yes, whether it is on super heavy or not, we don't know, but it does have a liquid oxygen tank, header tank, within the liquid oxygen tank, and so that would be a really great addition to have on top of the existing liquid oxygen header tank, because that liquid oxygen header tank right now is only used for the landing burn. For the boost back burn, we believe the levels of the liquid oxygen are high enough that it is actually probably above the liquid oxygen header tank. So like that is a lot of liquid oxygen that you still have there, and so the transition to the liquid oxygen header tank on the booster will probably be when the main tank is the level of the main tank of liquid oxygen is really, really low, and that is for the landing burn. That is what we think it is going to be used for. So obviously, some sort of kind of baffle for a flip or something like that will be a great to be including on the vehicle. But that could also mean it increases the dry mass of the booster. So perhaps that's why it is not there in the booster. So there are trade-offs as always.
I've got a patch question. I hope Adrian's watching, because I might need his help in the back channel here. The Stinky Pickle, which is a very unique name, asking, are there plans to do a Velcro-backed version for future patches? I don't know the answer, but I think the backing, I've got a patch Got the Flight 3 patch in my hand right now. It's a very nice patch, by the way. You can get one shopped on NASASpaceflight.com. It's kind of like I think it's the iron-on. There you go, video. If it'll actually play. It's like an iron-on-y kind of thing, I think. So if that helps inform your purchases, I don't know whether you could also just buy some Velcro from your nearest shop, or hook and loop, or any other brand of adhesive kind of temporary material, and do it yourself, DIY. I don't know if that's possible, but you know. Or I don't know, just stick some Velcro to the back of it, and then stick some to your coat or wherever you want to put it, and just slap it on. That's me slapping it on. There you go. I'm Too Slick For You has become a Pad Rap member. Thank you very much for that. Hopefully you enjoy all the perks. Do we have a members multi-view going for this stream? You can tag I'm really good at my job. We do. So I think
we always do.
Yeah, I think that's available to everyone. I think it's available to everyone. Jay, correct me if I'm wrong. Is that, or not everyone, but like all the members? It is. It's available to everyone. So you now get access to the members multi-view, the behind the scenes of basically, I think it's got every or nearly every single robot camera we have at Starbase right now running is on that multi-view. So, you know, internally we of course have multi-views where you can see all of the cameras. You as members now get access to that as well, so you can see every single angle on one stream whilst we're live streaming our testing and Starship is doing things. So there you go. Every single camera we currently have running is on that multi-view. Meep is asking, will there be a payload in Flight 4 like a wheel of cheese or a mouse? Trevor?
Not to our knowledge. I think a lot of this will depend on how Flight 3 goes. If Flight 3 goes flawlessly and they meet all of their test objectives, then it's somewhat conceivable that Flight 4 may possibly have, you know, some like dummy Starlink satellites that they'll try to deploy, or and by dummy I mean they have really old Starlink satellites that probably aren't that useful, so you may as well just like test the deploying system, test those out in orbit or something like that, but TBD.
And Joseph is asking, with an expected 9 launches this year, doesn't that mean we should see one monthly launches from here? Alex, do you want to debunk this one? Because I have a feeling SpaceX doesn't actually expect 9 launches this year, but they're kind of more just preparing for the future with that kind of statement there.
Well, not debunk, but more like let's get real, right? What SpaceX plans for in terms of schedules is not what eventually happens. Let's put it that way. And so I think the only time that they have actually surpassed their own expectations was when they targeted 60. It was actually 50 launches in 2022, and then they replanned that for 60 launches, and then they got 62. That was, I think, the only time they got more flights in a year than they expected to have. So, just saying. It is good to target for 9 launches, but I think we're probably going to get 4 or 5 this year.
Okay. Still, you know, an insane number, but okay. Because that's like 4 more times that I need to work on things for the flight. And that's probably 4 more times that DAS has to go to Starbase to fix things. But, you know, we do it because we love it. Benjamin with a stall message, who's also, you guessed it, bought the IFT3 patch. Can't wait till March 14th. I have a very good feeling about Flight 3. I feel kind of good about Flight 3 as well. I'll go around the house here. Alex, how are you feeling about Flight 3? Are you confident or are you pessimistic?
I think Ship 28 has a really good chance of achieving orbit, or, you know, the suborbital...
It's not going to orbit. It's going to an even less orbit, Alex.
Look, whatever. I don't care. It's practically in orbit for intents and purposes.
Practically in orbit. It's going halfway around. It's not even going halfway around the world. It's going from Texas to the Indian Ocean. You cannot call that an orbit, Alex. That's not how physics works. You're meant to be the physics man, Alex, and you can't even get it right. How is that an orbit? That's not an orbit. That's not an orbit, Alex. That's not an orbit.
Can we mute Ryan for a second? Because I'm going to debunk a thing that he just expressed that is completely wrong. Just because you launch from one place of the world and then you re-enter over another one doesn't mean you haven't gone into orbit. Example, Crew 8 just launched last week, and the second stage re-enter over the Indian Ocean. Why? Because after deploying the Crew Dragon, it performed the orbit burn and it came back. So
Starship is still going to re-enter before completing a whole orbit, whether it performs a deorbit burn or
the
not.
Falcon 9 second stage also re-enter before completing a whole revolution around the Earth. What's your
But
point?
it had to do a deorbit burn in order to re-enter.
See?
That's the thing. That's the thing.
That's the
Yeah,
difference.
exactly. Now
There you
you're
go.
getting it. Now you're getting it. Now you're on my team.
Because of this, I'm gonna go ahead and go with Jonathan McDowell's. Basically, how's the expression?
The orbital police.
Yeah, no. What I mean is that his description of the orbit or whatever is a transatmospheric flight, and that is basically where you have an orbit that is marginally an orbit, as in the perigee is within the atmosphere. But if the Earth didn't have an atmosphere, it would have been a proper orbit, right? And so that is what he refers to as a transatmospheric orbit, which is basically what we expect from Starship. He had on the NSF forums, by the way, shout out to the forums, he basically had a post today where he sort of explained that he thinks, by his own calculations, it is a 50 by 220 something kilometer orbit. So it is an orbit. You could basically do this within an orbit. The problem is the perigee is within the atmosphere. So it's a transatmospheric flight.
I don't think I
There you
can
go.
argue with the orbital police. If not, I may find myself in custody. So I'm going to move it on to Trevor.
I honestly have gotten kind of bored with the whole is it orbit or not conversation because it's so close that it doesn't matter. It's just SpaceX wanting to be, if something goes wrong, they don't want to have a ship stuck in orbit, which is just them being responsible. So I think I don't know. There's still obviously test flights. SpaceX is still trying to learn a lot. I think if they reach it, that counts as a successful orbital mission, even if it's technically not orbit.
Yeah. And that's the thing. I just got triggered by the definition that you put out that, it doesn't do a full revolution. I'm like, there's many missions that are orbital missions that don't do a full revolution, right? And so it's a bit like that.
Okay. I just got fully Alex-did.
Yes. Thanks.
I got Alex-did. Moving on. Annette with a store message saying, need the sticker for my car. Everybody needs this cool water bottle. Thanks, guys. Alex need not shave his head from Bideford. Thanks very much, Bideford. You got the Moon and Mars sticker.
You can
I
see.
disagree with the part about Alex's head, but I agree with the rest of it.
Boy. I'm just gonna say, you can see that I also have a long beard now in the latest flyover video. I appear in that one, so not only a long hair, but also a long
You
beard now.
do? Okay, I have to look at this.
Oh, come on, you
Trevor-
didn't watch the flyover?
I haven't watched it yet.
Oh my god.
Trevor just announced that he doesn't watch NSF videos. I think that's a treason.
no,
I think
what
that's
I-
treason.
What I just announced is I have been incredibly busy with school these last few days, so I haven't had time to watch it.
Okay.
Hmm.
I will accept that, but not by far. Ronald with a store message saying, this will go nicely with my Flight 2 patch. Thanks for your work. Well, Pauline actually designed the patch, so you should be thanking Pauline because it's a very cool patch. It's my favourite patch of all of them. I like the colours. I like the diamond shape. I think it works a little bit better than the hexagon. It's a little bit more. It's just, I don't know. I just like it. It's my favourite. I don't know why. Just do. Harvey has become a PadRap member. You now get access to the members multi-view, which is live right now. So if you go to the channel, then the membership tab, I think it should be there, if I'm remembering correctly. And the Orbital one has become a Red Team member, so you will also have access to every single camera we currently have in Starbase as well. Robotic camera, I should say. You don't actually, unfortunately, when you become a member, you don't get to hold Sean's camera, but you do get to see the robots. So there you go. Wesley asking, is the propellant transfer demonstration just dumping the header tanks into the main tanks or something? Question mark. Alex.
That's a great question. I really have no idea what it will entail. I don't think SpaceX has. I mean, we have an idea, right? Essentially, it's going to be a transfer between the other tanks and the main tanks, or the other way around. Like, that's all we know. The specifics of how it will be worked on, it's that's like, yeah, we don't know that. We don't know the specifics. That's a problem. So, you know, if they talk about that, I'll be glad if they do that, because that's gonna be interesting to know.
Tyler asking, do you think the booster could simulate a catch maneuver by hovering at the height of the Mechazilla arms just before splashdown? Trevor, what do you think?
Yeah, I definitely think that this is what SpaceX is going to do on some of these. Before they, go for an actual catch attempt, they will do these simulated catch attempts in the ocean. I think it would be tremendously valuable data to them. That first of all, can they get the booster through re-entry, and then if they can, are they able to control it to the level of precision needed for them to successfully catch the vehicle with the chopsticks?
Let's have a look through here for some more questions. Oh, Musical Wolves here has a good suggestion. Any chance we could get a card that will play the NSF music when you open the card? Should we sell? I need to tell Adrian we need to do like a series of like birthday cards and celebration cards and things like that, and you open it and it plays the NSF theme. I'm all for that, by the way. I think that's a great product suggestion. I'm expecting Adrian to now pop in and complain with like some logistical things about the store that, you know, are really important or something. But I think that product is a great idea. Babo the Ocelot, sorry if I pronounced that incorrectly, asking, how many tiles do you think Ship 29 will lose at launch? So that's not Ship 28, which was doing Flight 3. We're asking about Ship 29, which is the star of the show today. Alex, how many tiles do you think Ship 29 will lose?
Ship 29. More than one? And less than 17,000? I don't know. I really... More than one, I will say. But it's really complicated. That's a really complicated question.
I'm gonna say more than -1.
More than
Okay.
-1. Okay, that's cheating. Because more than that is 0, 1, 2, 3, basically all the natural numbers.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say a significant amount. No, that's being a bit mean to Ship 29, because it will have improvements. Honestly, I'm not sure. It will. I suspect it will lose a number. You know, the shuttle lost tiles throughout its entire life, sometimes more than others. I think Starship will be exactly the same, to be honest. I just think it's going to be a case of managing them. And as you can see here, it's already losing tiles. So
That is not a lost tile. That is for the pin, for the stabilizers on the chopsticks to grab onto. There we go.
So I've been proven wrong. Don't listen to me.
Yes.
Schooled by
It does
Alex yet again.
It does have a few tiles there on the bottom, right up from the taglines, because they have sort of like 2 points where they have the taglines for lifting it up with the crane, and then right above one of those taglines or positions for the taglines, you can see like a couple of tiles missing. But you know, at this stage of the testing, it is not about to fly, right? That's Ship 28, the one on the orbital launch mount or near the orbital launch mount. That's the one that they have been taken care of that thermal protection system. As I mentioned at the beginning of the stream, they've been doing a lot of testing on those tiles, trying to see if they stick together, and that and that they basically are all in great shape for flight, and also replacing those that are not in great shape, so that they fly with those that are in great shape. That's the point of doing this testing, right? To find out about that, basically now instead of during flight. We found out about that with Ship 25 during flight. That is not the thing that we want for Ship 28, though.
I also think that SpaceX, they seem to not really care about the tiles on Ship 25 that much. It seemed like they knew that there were tile improvements on later ships, and then also just they wanted to get the data of getting into orbit before worrying too much about that. At least that was the vibe I got.
Michael, excuse me, with the Flight 1 patch saying cannot wait. Come on, question Q. Come on. There we go. I hope you mean you cannot wait for Flight 3, because Flight 1 was a little while ago. But I think it's also important to mention that the patch, unlike like the t-shirts and hoodies and things, the patches are ordered in bulk. And we're not just saying that in order to try and sell you more. It's the truth. We order them in bulk. We only have a set number of patches we can sell for each flight. And once they're gone, they're gone. We're not going to be ordering any more. So if you want one of the older patches, especially to complete a collection or something like that, there are not many of them left. So just a word of warning, I don't want anyone being disappointed that they couldn't get a Flight 1 patch because they sold out. So there you go. You've been warned. If you want one, get it as soon as possible. And Neil with a store message as well with the Flight 3 patch saying, thank you for your great camera work. Amazing shots. Very informative. Thanks very much, Neil. Hopefully you enjoy the patch as well. Robert is asking, what is the status of the second tower? Alex, I'll throw this one over for you to take a crack at.
I believe Jay is wanting us to talk about those two tiles. Those are the ones that I was mentioning before. Right below them, like few meters down the vehicle, is one of the taglines, the positions where that you can see that sort of hooky thing where they just put the line around, they tie it off, and they use that when they lift it with a crane. They need people on the ground basically tugging along with the ship to be able to put it on the transport stand, or vice versa when they lift it from the transport stand to the test stand. So they use those there to be able to use those taglines. So those are expected to be there. The two tiles are missing up there though. Those obviously need to be there, and so those are ones that are probably have fallen off, or they were already missing there before they transported Ship 29. I really don't remember, to be fair. But yeah, like, it's just two tiles, to be fair. And I know that at least during these preparations, they were venting out the ship header tanks, and some tiles fell off. Kind of brings back memories of Ship 20, because it happened very similarly with Ship 20. But, those things, they can get solved. It's not the end of the day again. That is a thing to worry with. The one that is to the right, between the chopsticks there, that's the one that you need to worry about the ship tiles right now. Not Ship 29, because it's probably a few months until it launches.
And Micah, sorry if I'm pronouncing your name incorrectly, asking what orbital inclinations can be reached from Starbase. Now, Trevor, the needle, I believe, does have to be threaded between the Florida Keys and Cuba and the Caribbean. So I think it's kind of limited, but I may be incorrect.
Yeah, so I don't know the exact inclinations that can be reached, but I know it's, as you were saying, very limited. What SpaceX originally started looking into Boca Chica for launches for, when it was originally going to be a Falcon pad, was purely for GTO missions, where SpaceX wanted a dedicated pad where they could just launch basically due east. And it was actually a little bit lower inclination, so if you wanted a lower inclination, it could be somewhat advantageous. But outside of that, it's a pretty bad location for a launch pad, and that's why long term, I think, as SpaceX has said, Starbase is going to be more for developmental flights where who cares what the inclination is. And the Cape and whatever other launch sites SpaceX ends up building are going to be more for the operational flights.
Mm-hmm. And it looks like someone has just ordered the trio, Jesse getting not only the Flight 2 patch, for some reason it's coming to the panel here in the wrong order, not only the Flight 2 patch, not only the Flight 1 patch, but also the Flight 3 patch. So thanks very much for that. All three current patches which are on the store, shop.nasaspaceflight.com. Bruce is asking, why are the ship header tanks way up in the nose? It seems like an odd use of prime real estate. Well, Alex, why are the header tanks right up in the nose of Starship, unlike on the booster?
Because they wanted to make a pun with right on the nose. But no, now seriously. The reason why they are there is to balance the weight of the engines when you are re-entering with the ship. Because basically, if you think about the aerodynamics, you need the ship CG to be very stable compared to where the center of pressure is going to be located when you are re-entering. And so, essentially, if you have too much weight on the back of the ship, what it's going to do is it's going to want to re-enter engines first. And Starship is not made to be re-entering engines first. So you put a little bit more weight at the top, and that compensates a bit that mass imbalance. And so that is essentially why the header tanks are up the top. Once the ship has landed, though, because this will probably create another conversation, which is, well, why do you even want to have the center of gravity up there, so close to the nose cone in that case? And because obviously once you land, you're like on landing legs, you can imagine, right? If Starship were to land on landing legs, but let's imagine that it actually lands on landing legs. So it's landing on landing legs, the CG is too high, right? The thing is, when it lands, it drains its header tanks. So now the header tanks are just an empty shell, and all of the weight is essentially still on the engines. So the center of gravity just goes down. And that is actually a thing that they have to balance as they come for the landing, and they basically flip and land vertically. That's another thing that they need to control during that maneuver, because the top portion of the ship starts getting less massive. It has less mass because it's draining that propellant to ingest during the burn. And so that is a really interesting problem there. But once it lands, it is not going to have a high CG, and that basically works for HLS as well, which I'm seeing a lot of comments out there about that. So yeah, but yeah, it's an odd use, but it's a good use because it kind of has to have that in the nose for mass balancing.
Rock Gift asking, how detrimental would a few tiles missing be for re-entry? Trevor, would it be mission ending, or do you think Starship could cope, or what are your thoughts on that one?
I think this is the question that we all, probably including SpaceX, really want an answer to. I think it's likely that they would be able to have more tiles missing than, say, Shuttle could have and still be able to re-enter, just because of the properties of stainless steel compared to aluminum or whatever. But this is something that SpaceX will be finding out, hopefully on this flight, when Starship actually gets to test re-entry.
QWERTY is asking, if there is a tank at the top of the ship, where will the docking port go? Alex, answer that, because I don't know.
Okay, it depends on the version of a Starship. So for example, for a cruise Starship, you can imagine if it has the header tanks at the top, and it's going to re-enter through the atmosphere, etc., etc., you obviously need to have the docking port on the side, rather than on the top of the vehicle. But for HLS, for example, it shouldn't need the header tanks in the first place. But even if it needs them, it may not need them on the nose cone, precisely for what I was talking about before, that it's not re-entering through the atmosphere, right? And so that problem of balancing as you come through the atmosphere and try to balance the drag of the flaps and the mass of the ship and everything, you don't need that for HLS because it's landing on the moon. there's no atmosphere, so even if you need a set of header tanks, again, we don't really know if it'll need them or not, but even if you need them, you wouldn't need them at the nose cone. So you can now use the nose cone section for docking, and we have seen recently some pictures of that docking system, that docking mechanism being tested with basically the same hardware that Orion and Gateway will use for Artemis, and so that is some interesting advances in the program as well. So really, really interesting.
There's a very interesting question, which I'll throw to you as well, Alex. Cray Cedar, sorry if I'm pronouncing that incorrectly, asking, do we have NOTAMs and or not Mars for Flight 3 yet?
We have not Mars. You know what a normal is, right?
That line's going to haunt me for the rest of my life.
Yes, that's your intro for the video for Flight 1. Yes, we have not Mars. They're technically called local notice to mariners. These are basically notice to mariners for the Gulf of Mexico. I haven't seen any yet for, there are navigational hazard warnings that are called. I haven't seen them yet. I can check my inbox right now on my email, because I get email updates for those. But I haven't seen anything yet so far, but they will come. And we also have NOTAMs for the Indian Ocean already for that re-entry of a Starship. We haven't had yet a NOTAM for the land for the launch, excuse me. So but these things do not all come at the same time. They usually they arrive and they are published at different times of the pre-launch sequences. So but we have already some of the stuff, as you can see there on that checklist at nextspaceflight.com. Whenhub.com, you can also use that as well. That's the Starship section on the website. So you can use that for keeping along with the list of things that need to be checked off before a launch. As you can see, we still are missing an FAA launch license. We don't have a temporary flight restriction around the launch site, but it's okay. Again, that's another thing that we're probably going to see along, as we take along. But yeah, lots of cool stuff to come in.
And as you can see on Next Spaceflight, it says overcast clouds, which is very accurate because not only is the sky nice and cloudy, but the tank farm is nice and cloudy as well. Look at that. Alex, for those who are just joining us, I'll throw this to you as well. Where are we right now? Do we have any kind of predicted time for things? Are things just kind of happening? What are we expecting today? All of that good stuff.
Yeah, the sort of the preconditioning. I hate calling it preconditioning, but that's gonna be the word I'm gonna use. The preconditioning ahead of the propellant load and things like that usually is a little bit variable. It takes some time depending on. Oh, hang on, there we go. Now,
Frost.
load, we have seen frost. Now, once we see frost for Ship 28, it was basically around 1 hour and 10 minutes until a test happened. So that would mean around 2:20 p.m. Central, I guess. That was for the spin prime on Ship 28. Once we saw frost on the vehicle, it took about 1 hour and 10 minutes to get to the spin prime test. And for the static fire test, it was a very similar countdown, to be fair. So whatever happens today, it's probably around that time, around 1 hour from now, essentially.
Have a look in here for some more questions. For those of you just joining us, tag us in chat at NASASpaceflight. If you're new around here and you are unaware, that filters your question into the queue, which we can then pick out questions and answer them from. If you just put it into chat, we get so many different chat messages that it would just, it would overload everybody's brains. So we just have to filter it out a little bit for questions and things specifically. BQD23 is asking, have we seen the scheduled flight for the NASA plane for possible launch March 14th. I believe they're referring to the WB-57 imagery aircraft. Trevor, do you know if we have seen any scheduling for that, or will we just have to wait and see?
Yeah, so we saw there's some. I believe they have the 18th and later booked, which doesn't.
14th.
Oh, so it's the 14th. Okay.
The 14th, yeah. There's multiple things there, and so since they don't say what they are, a lot of people have to sort of guess what they are for. And before we got all of these confirmation, I warned that, just looking at the schedule alone without anything else to base it, right, and just pointing at a random schedule event on that calendar saying that is for Starship, it may not work, because 90% of the time it will not be for Starship, because there are other things that these planes support, and there's also an upcoming CRS mission as well. There's other missions like Delta IV Heavy is going to launch. These planes support other types of launches for NASA and for the US Space Force. So obviously, just pointing at a random date on that calendar that says, support and things like that, it doesn't mean that that date is going to be Starship for Starship Flight 2. A lot of people got it wrong because they thought, oh, it's the 8th to the 10th or something like that, because there was a period back then, and it turned out that it was for CRS 29. And so my warning was, before anything goes out, if you just look at that schedule, you really don't know which one of those dates it's going to be, right? Because it could also have been wrong choice of the verb there. It could have been from the 18th to the 26th, right? Like, it could have been a valid choice as well. But now we actually have other things. We have SpaceX saying, hey, we're targeting the 14th. We have NOTAMs, we have Not Mars, we have a lot of other things. So once you have a lot of other things going on, and you see that schedule, and you see the 14th, you're like, aha, that's for Starship. Now you can seriously say that's for Starship. So that's my warning, so to speak, for this, that if it's the only thing that you have, don't take it for granted. If you have other things though, then you're more likely to be right.
A question I have in my mind, which I'll also ask you, Alex.
Oh.
Considering, let's assume that today's goes perfectly, they want to do all the testing they want to do, will they leave Ship 29 out there for the launch, or will they roll it back?
I think they'll almost certainly roll it back. It's not worth the risk.
I will... it will be cool if they had it out there. Again, I think I mentioned this on a recent Raptor side where I was like, I like when we get data back, right? And just seeing how a launch nearby affects another vehicle, right? Another ship. It will be cool to know how it fares that, and if it actually is good to go or not. Because at the end of the day, we're going to have two launch pads here. We're going to have two towers. The second tower will be built essentially around this place that we're looking here right now, where the suborbital pad is. And who knows? We may have two full stacks next to each other, which will look really, really cool, by the way. But maybe it is something that they'll leave to the future and not do it now. Because why risk it, right? That's essentially what Trevor said. I will leave it there personally, but I'm not a SpaceX engineer, basically.
We've been getting a lot of store messages coming in.
Wow.
Over the last 10 minutes or so, and they keep on coming. Anonymous, first of all, with the Flight 1 patch, saying, I wonder how many satellites on a Starship transporter launch versus Falcon 9. I'm going to imagine it's a significant increase, not only in mass to orbit, but also in the size of the payload bay. It's muchos larger than a Falcon 9, as you say in Spain, Alex.
Mucho más grande.
That's the word. Florist, also purchasing from the store three things off the store here, with the come on panel, Flight 1 patch and the Flight 2 patch. Or is that the Flight? Yeah, that's the Flight 2 patch. Came in the right order this time. Wonderful. And the Flight 3 patch. Flight 3 patch. I think the panel might be struggling a little bit. There we go. Flight 3 patch. Thank you very much for that. Of course, it is all greatly appreciated. As always. Let's have a look here. Brian with a store message saying go Starship. They got the Flight 3 patch. Oh, it went up and then came down. I don't know. I'll just read these off because the panel seems to be struggling a little bit. Thanks very much for that, Brian. And we've got Anonymous with the Raptor Wrangler sticker, the Flight 2 patch, the Flight 3 patch. Houston has purchased the Flight 1 patch, Flight 2 patch, and the Flight 3 patch. So everyone's getting the patches.
You know when I said that we don't have a NOTAM or a TFR for launch? Now we have.
Is it just updated?
I'm just looking here because I was curious, right? We were talking about that. I was curious. I looked it up, and push, something popped up here on my search, and yeah, it came out essentially like 2 hours ago. Yeah, a TFR for falling debris of a Starship Flight 3 rocket, and it's essentially for the Mexican side of the TFR. So that is for the Mexican airspace. We have a NOTAM for that, for the launch itself.
There you go. The store messages have now popped up, so hopefully everyone could give them a good look. The Third Eve is asking, how is the traffic on South Padre on launch day, and is the beach towards Starbase free/open? When would you recommend to arrive at your watch spot? Well, I will be honest, nobody here has gone down there. So us three is probably like not the prime candidates to ask this question, but to my knowledge, I think it's called.
Oh,
Where's Starbase gone? Where's Starbase gone? Everything went dark for a moment. Okay, we're back. Okay, to the best of my knowledge, Isla Blanca Park is like $5 or $10 or something like that, cash, I think, if I'm remembering correctly from the last flight. I can't remember when it opens, but I'm sure that information will be easily available online before the launch day. There's also specific like marine watch areas, so if you have a boat or you know someone that has a boat and you would like to watch from the water, there are specific zones near the channel that goes into the port of Brownsville, near Isla Blanca Park, which is south of South Padre. So that is also an option. There's also Starfleet on Twitter. Let me get that. I'll get that at, actually. They are going to be operating a couple of charter boats if you would like to watch with them as well. So there's many different options, and to be honest, no matter where you stand in South Texas, you're probably gonna see it and at least hear it. I'll put Starfleet's Twitter into chat very quickly. So if you'd like to watch on a boat with them, you can hit them up on Twitter there as well. Hopefully that answers your question a little bit. But be prepared to wake up very early. That's another thing. Looks like propellant load is continuing as the frost line grows ever larger there from the not quick disconnect, because it's not disconnecting and it's not doing it quickly. Looking good. I say looking good, I'm not sure if it looks good. Alex, does this look good?
yeah, it looks good. So far, so good.
Cool. Just double checking myself. I don't want to say something's looking good when it's not looking good, but it is looking good. Let's have a look in here for some questions. Again, tag us in chat at NASASpaceflight. Senior Gaster Loops? Sorry if I'm pronouncing that incorrectly. Where's it gone? Oh, there it is. Asking, when will the countdown to launch stream start? You'll be very happy because they are coming very soon. I'm about to be... I'm going to steal Chris B's title of Top Leaker, and I'm going to say we were going to do one today, but then SpaceX decided to test Ship 29, so we're doing Ship 29 stream instead. But, you know, If
This
they
is
didn't
basically
ship
countdown
29
to launch.
This is countdown to launch for
Yeah.
today, everybody. But
Yeah, welcome
proper
to
countdown to
launch.
launch. Proper countdown to launch is returning very, very soon. Keep your eyes out. Nudge, nudge. Wink, wink. Lon will also be back hosting those, I believe. Yes, Chris B. I'm sorry. I'm the top leaker now. Alan with the 4.99 GBP not hot stage. Super chat asking, with hot staging, could the ship now be used as a panic abort system? Alex, could the ship be used as a launch escape system?
It could be a terrible one, to be fair, because it's not fuel at all times, right? It does get fuel earlier than the booster, that's a plus, but the engines are also not conditioned for an ignition until T-minus 19 minutes, so it will be a terrible pad escape system. A launch escape system, during flight, that could work. That could work a little bit better. But yeah. By the way, for those asking about a link to the NOTAM, I'm afraid there's not a hard link to it. What we can have is show it on stream if Jay has it, and also gonna tweet about that. What I use is there's an option on the FAA website to look up for essentially all the NOTAMs worldwide that are public and everything, and I essentially type Starship and these things pop up, and so you can see there that NOTAM it includes all of the information about the area of the world that is affecting MMFR, for example. That's the one that relates to the Mexican flight restrictions, and then it sort of goes into what days it's going to be affecting. So B and C, that's the start and the end of these sort of NOTAM, but then D says when during these days it is in effect, and you can see there that the 14th, the 15th, and the 18th, the window for this NOTAM, that is an important distinction here, the window for the NOTAM, it is from 12 UTC, which will be 7 a.m. Central, to 2.5 hours later, which will be 9:31 a.m. Central. But that is the window of the NOTAM. What does that mean for the window for launch? Well, in the past, it used to be that the start of the window for the NOTAM was the same as the start of the window for the launch. But the end, they had like a reserve 30 minutes more or less. And so what we can gather from here is that the launch window will be 2 hours starting at 7 a.m. Central Time for the 14th, 15th, and the 18th. Now, to the right of that, it says 1617, then it goes from 1200 UTC to 1301 minute UTC. And so that means for the 16th and 17th, the launch window will be probably around 30 minutes or maybe less. Instead of being 2 hours. And so it's going to be, again, that moment where some of these days will be 2 hours, but then other days will be a shorter window. That's sort of what it means there, that the launch window will be shorter for the 16th and the 17th. But as we saw on the flight too, it's not really that big of a deal. If the launch is going well, if all of the countdown milestones are being hit, it shouldn't be a big of a deal, because then it'll launch within the first few minutes of that window, and that's what happened for flight 2. We had a 20-minute window, and it launched within the first 2 minutes, so it was not really that much of a big deal. And I guess I should explain that all of the things when it says Area 1 and Area 2, those are the coordinates for the areas that is, the restriction valid for.
John T is asking, or rather requesting for Jack Kayak Cam requests. I'm pretty sure Jack will be standing on solid ground yet again, probably much to your disappointment. I do wonder how feasibly possible it is, though, to get Jack on a kayak. Maybe when it's a bit warmer. And Tech Tinker Prince is asking, what are the differences between Ship 28 which is just on the right of your screen now, and Ship 29, which is getting frosty in the middle of your screen. Alex, this has your name written all over it. What are the differences between old, that still hasn't flown yet, and new?
Differences between old and new. You mean between 25 and 28 or 28 and 29?
No, I mean 28 and 29.
Okay, 28 and 29. Well, essentially, there's not a lot of differences. Both Booster 11 and Booster 10 are very similar, and Ship 29 and Ship 28 are very similar in that sense. And so that is essentially what I can say. There's probably a lot of little differences in multiple places that only SpaceX knows, and I'm sure that the Ring Watchers will take all of the pictures from Ship 29. They're gonna be dissecting all of that and putting out an awesome review, as they usually do, of all of the little differences. But in major, like in general sense, there's not a whole lot of differences. They are almost identical to each other. It is true, though, that Ship 29, when it was built, I think they already had a lot more experience with Booster 10 and Ship 24. So they already had at least some experience with a pair of vehicles that flew. Because when Ship 28 was built, they hadn't flown a single Starship full stack. But when Ship 29 started, I believe that was already when Ship 24 and Booster 7 had flown. So that was a plus, but I'm guessing that it really didn't change that much. Ship 30 has some differences, but that'll be for Flight 5, excuse me. So once we get there, we'll talk about that. You there, Ryan?
Talking whilst muted.
There you go. I was worried.
Tarush, sorry if I pronounced that incorrectly, is asking, Stage 0 still takes 2 to 3 weeks of repair. What changes do they need to make for the sub 24-hour turnaround? Trevor, do you know what we could expect in order to them to make the pad more turnaroundable? Of course, they still refurbish 39A and 40 and 4 East semi-regularly. You know, we see them obviously sometimes when we see Starlinks launch out 39A, it's because they're working on 40. So do you know what we could expect to see to try and make it less expendable?
Yeah, so I think the sub 24 hours is going to require large amounts of redesign, and that's just very far out. Like you're saying, even with Falcon 9, which is a significantly less powerful rocket, their turnarounds are approaching 3 days at this point from the same pad, which is far off. There's a large vent from ship, which is far off from being sub 24 hours. But as of changes they need to make, I mean, the pad seems to hold up quite well. I wouldn't be surprised if at some point they add more water being sprayed like on top of the orbital launch mounts or something like that to just help protect it a little bit more. But that's something that we're just really going to have to wait and see. Unfortunately, we don't have super good data into what all got damaged between launches and whatnot.
Copy that. Have a look through here. Everyone, I don't know whether DAS came into chat or something, but there's loads of people asking, we want DAS, more DAS please. Did DAS come into chat or something? I don't know. Let's have a look through here. 6-string simpleton, as venting keeps going off in the background, is asking, what kind of production rate are we expecting when Star Factory is complete? Alex, do you want to take a go? I'll give this one a go.
I'm thinking, based on the enormous size of the Star Factory, they have in fact already started using part of the new expansion that they have built essentially a few months ago. Based on that, it seems like they could be capable of building, at the very least, like maybe a ship and a booster at least every month. Currently, they're taking about 3 months for boosters, 2.5, 3 months for ships. Like, they still take about 3 months for every ship. And that accounts not just the stacking, because the stacking is the easiest part. We mentioned this on a recent Starbase update. Well, recent. It was probably about a couple of months ago. But essentially, stacking the vehicles in itself is easy. You just put them one on top of each other, you weld together, and boom, you have already a stacked ship and everything. But now you have to install all of the little bits on them, all of the wiring, all of the piping, all of that little stuff that just takes so much to get right? And so all of that little stuff, and also the engines, you have to install them, you have to plug them in, you have to put all the engine shielding. There's a lot of little things that you need to do to the booster, to the ship. Like the booster, just imagine having to plumb all of those 33 Raptor engines, right? That's a lot of plumbing. The shielding, the amount of shielding that the boosters have on the engine section is quite incredible. So you need to put all of that onto these vehicles and try to make them flight worthy, essentially, right? Stacking them doesn't make them flight worthy. And in the case of the ship, you also have the tiles. The good thing about the tiles is that most of the time they just basically put them already on these barrel sections or on the flaps and things like that. And so at the end of the day, you just need to put the tiles in between the sections, so it's not really that big of a deal. But still, there's a lot of little things going on. So for now, it takes about a 3-month period to make each of these vehicles from start to end. And by start, I mean they start rolling them out, rolling these vehicles out to the high bay or to the mega bay or whatever they're being stacked to, until they are actually, performing these engine testing and things like that. So in the future, I'm guessing that it could be down to 1 month. Once they have all of the bays, all of the Star Factory, that could be probably a good thing, because 12 ships and 12 boosters, once they start reusing them, for example, you reuse 12 boosters 2 times each, right? And you have 24 launches in a year, for example. That's already a lot of launches for Starship. We're talking 9 they're targeting for this year. Boy.
Yeah. Junior has been on the store, and they've got Flight 3 patch, Flight 2 patch, Flight 1 patch. I'll just cycle through these here. Thanking us for the support, asking, is there a reason why they do the tiles so early with all the travelling the ships do, and the lift points and things, and up and down the road has to jar them loose? Trevor, do we know why they do it so early? Is it just to consolidate like the production process?
Yeah, I think it's just easier for them to start the heat shield early, right? On the individual barrel sections, it's better to tile those and put all the pins on and everything just in Star Factory, and then roll it out that way. And then you just need to add a few tiles on the edges where you weld later. I imagine it saves them a lot of time not having to do that as a full stack, because then you can, work on 10 sections at once, as opposed to you can only have so many lifts up by the ship. Plus, that means you probably have better quality anyway.
Tracy has bought a Flight 3 patch from the store. Christopher with the 59 Norwegian krona saying, I didn't get a notification about this. Well, that's a shame. At least you're with us now. And they've also become a Pad Wrap member, which means you get access to the members multi-view, which means you can look at every single camera we have deployed at Starbase right now. Not like we have 1 on right now. Starbase Live has 4. The members multi-view has more than that by a significant margin. I forgot the specific number. And Blashy Boy has gifted 1 Red Team membership. Of course, if you received that, make sure to thank them in chat, because that is the gifting memberships thing is completely random, based on an algorithm of watch time and things like that. We don't pick who gets them. The people who purchase them don't get to pick who gets them. So YouTube has specifically, or rather the algorithm has specifically chosen 1 random person because they have watched as this ship splurts out a little bit more of a vent there. Is it just me, or has the frost kind of stopped rising a little bit? I don't know. It just seems like it's been around that kind of level for a little while now.
No, it's been growing a little bit.
Okay, it's just my eyes then.
Yeah, I'm looking at it. One of the next things that we should see as we get close to the test is the start of the engine chill, and what we will see, maybe if we can switch to the view that looks right underneath of the ship, is you will see, there we go, thanks Jay, you will see one of those legs. I don't know if you can see the engraving kind of thing that says 2 on the leg. It's like a 2 on it, and that leg with a 2 on it, you can see one pipe coming up from above. That is one of the engine chill pipes on the stand, and that engine chill will start. Once it starts, we'll see venting from there. And I believe for the last test that we saw from Ship 28, it lasted quite substantially. It lasted for about 30 minutes or so. But if we're expecting a test around the basically 2:20 p.m. Central Time, sort of time frame, then that will mean that in about 10 minutes or so we should see that engine chill starting, which is interesting, because for when it is, sorry, I had like an afterthought of that is when it is in full stack mode, the engine chill starts at T-minus 19 minutes for some reason, but here it starts at T-minus 30 or so before the test, which is weird, but just like an extra thought that I had there. Go ahead.
I'm just mentioning, you can see some more of that kind of frosty condensation cloudiness escaping past the edge of the flap there. You can see now kind of drifting downwards. I was about to say, I'm putting my teeth back in. Apocalypse Cow, thank you very much for gifting 10 Red Team memberships. So that's 10 more people. We've got another train going on here, it looks like, because 10 Red Team memberships, 10 people now get access to the membership program free of charge to them. But of course, Apocalypse Cow supported NSF, meaning that those people get the memberships. Mr. Rich Texas gifting 5 Red Team memberships. And then Black Hawk NZ, which I think could stand for New Zealand, has gifted 5 Red Team memberships. And then Sheriff Tracy, which is the name we very much recognise, gifting 5 Red Team memberships as well. And then Super Steph joining the queue with a $10 super chat, saying, heads up to folks, it's for going to the launch, it's spring break in South Padre Isle, so it'll be crowded, plan accordingly. That's another good point to bring up, because the beach is very popular with people who like the beach, not just the people who like the Starship. So there's going to be a lot of people there who want to see the Starship, and then maybe an equal amount, if not more people there who want to be on the beach, who may not even be aware of the Starship maybe. So I know people exist who are not aware of Starship. It blows my mind. So yeah, that's a very good point to bring up there. Yeah, traffic could be a bit berserk, shall I say. Oh, and someone else is joining the Red Team train here, as Mats has gifted 10 more Red Team memberships. I've lost count now. That's like 30 or 40 new Red Team members in the last 5 minutes alone, which is incredible. Thank you so much for your support. And I'll say it again, we obviously, we don't like, we do this because we want to chat with everybody in chat, like everybody, not just members, not just people who super chat, not just people who buy from the store. We want to chat with everybody, which is why we answer questions from everybody. We don't require super chats or things like that, like some other people. We just want to hang out with you guys. So, of course, the support is greatly appreciated. We love the support. This wouldn't be possible without the financial support, but just hanging out, watching the stream, chatting if you feel like it, that's all that matters, and that's what we are fundamentally most thankful for, most grateful for. Everybody just tuning in, hanging out, wanting to watch Ship 29 vent with us. And Schrodinger's cat has contributed $5 through a super chat saying, timeline from SpaceX seems like Ship 28 would need an entire orbit to complete all mission goals, or is the plan still to go up and then right back down? Trevor, you were going through the timeline a little bit earlier. They're all doing this like all at once. They're not going around for an entire orbit, are they?
Correct, yeah. So they're still going to an orbit that would not be able to repeat itself. So they only have about, 90, I guess it's more like an hour to get all of these tests done. An orbit at this altitude is generally around 90 minutes, give or take. So it's not even completing one full orbit.
Lost in Space with the $10. Ship 29 rudely interrupting me there with the vent, saying, could you tugboat style drag starships to the moon using only fuel from one of them? Alex, physics or physics not?
Tugboat styles. I mean, using only fuel for one of them. Oh, that's weird. Boy, that's a complicated question. People like it when they ask complicated questions, to be fair. But I'm afraid we obviously don't have the time, so I will say maybe. That's my take. I'm really sorry. It's even a support chat, so like I'm really sorry I couldn't answer much better than that. But it's probably a really complicated question where you actually have to go and do the math on it and all the engineering and everything. I really wouldn't be able to tell.
I mean, I don't
Jeff
think it would.
Oh, sorry, Trevor.
Yeah, if I can just chime in, I don't think it would really gain you that much. I think if anything, that's kind of how you don't want to do it, because then you're dragging around dry mass of engines and whatever on 6 ships that you don't necessarily need to be dragging around. So it's better to, have some fuel depot or whatever, and then move the fuel depot around. That would be more efficient from a Delta V perspective.
Jeff Rowe has gifted 5 Red Team memberships, adding to the gifted train. As Ship 29 continues to vent every so often. Bloodhound09 with the $3.14 super chat saying, here's to a Pi Day launch. That would be kind of cool if it sticks to Pi Day. Sheriff Tracy, hello again, for gifting another 5 Red Team memberships. Or the panel has just glitched out and brought it back. Either way, thanks for the support, Tracy. Come on, panel. Oh, here we go. Oh, I don't know. Sergeant Feish? Sorry, I have no idea. Becoming a Red Team member, rather. Thank you very much for that. And John has been purchasing things off the store. The Flight 3, 2, and 1 patch. Thank you very much for the support there. Also saying you've inspired a passion for space, not only in myself, but their 5-year-old son. So, hello, 5-year-old son, if you're watching. Yes, that's very cool. It's comments like that which are wonderful to hear, because we're space nerds and we just like being space nerds with other space nerds, and it's great to hear that we've also made other people space nerds. It's infectious, apparently, which is great to hear. Blackhawk gifting 5 Red Team memberships, joining the train that's chugging along in chat. Thanks very much for all of the support, everybody. Let's have a look in here. Ron Smith is asking, is this a spin prime test or could we see a static fire today? Alex, could we see a static fire today or is this just a spin prime?
Well, we haven't seen we haven't really seen an overpressure notice being sent out, but sometimes there's like very rare exceptions where they do a static fire test and they do not send an overpressure notice and things like that. So you never know. But for now, we're expecting a spin prime, and hey, if we get surprised by a static fire test, I'm all for it.
And Max has gifted another 5 red team memberships, adding to the queue. The queue? The train. I meant to say the train.
Yeah, I guess
There
you
you
could
go.
say it.
Whatever. And there's this question here from Min Space 1 asking another vent interruption. Thanks very much, Ship29. Just trying to do my job. Asking how many tiles are on a ship with the TPS emoji. Alex, do you know?
A lot. I believe it is somewhere around 17,000 to 18,000. It is a lot of tiles that are on the ship. I believe there's only like 2 or 3 people that have been crazy enough to try and count them. But since they change from vehicle to vehicle, it's a little bit complicated. So that's all I've heard. Like very approximate numbers of around 17,000 or so. It's in the thousands. Yeah.
I wonder if Jack is going to do one of his mega, like, one of them mega panorama high-res images again, and we can give it to you, Alex.
The super gazillion pixel shots.
Yeah, just so you can go in and count each tile one by one. I'm sure that's a wonderful way to spend your afternoon.
I have all the things to do, to be fair.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Like making sure that all of the graphics are done and produced for the Starship livestream.
Moving swiftly on. Moving swiftly on. Alison Ellard is asking, please could Ryan explain to Jack what a tea towel is? I'd love an NSF tea towel in the store, please. I could try explain it to Jack, but Jack doesn't run the store, so I don't think that'd help the store. So I could try explain it to Adrian, which might help get one in the store. But yeah, Chris B in the back channel is a big fan of NSF tea towels, and to be honest, I'm a big fan as well. I've a feeling that could be a good seller, at least here. Waiting for Adrian to perk up now. Where is he?
What on earth is a tea towel?
It's a little towel you use. I don't know. I don't actually use it for tea, so it's just like a little towel.
Like a hand towel or something like that? I don't know.
You can use it for your hands.
Okay.
So it's a towel.
No, it's a tea towel.
It's a towel. It is a piece of cloth to... Cloth. Excuse me, Mr. British guy. You say anything, okay?
I think it's towel. Chris is explaining. Towel is bathroom, tea towel is kitchen.
It's very clear. Yeah. Things change their name depending where they are. It's very cloudy behind the Gateway to Mars sign now. Less cloudy in front of the Gateway to Mars sign, but cloudy behind the sign.
Yeah, there are clouds behind it. I wonder why. It's almost like, you know, there's a test that's about to happen.
Mm-hmm. Is it just my eyes, or has like the whole liquid oxygen tank filled up?
No, it's your eyes. So you can see there. Thanks, Jay, for the close-up. You can see that the thick frost, it only goes about a couple of rings up the start of the liquid oxygen tank, and the rest is like more thinner frost. That is as a result of these vents that we are seeing there. As you vent that gas, basically, and so you release some of that pressure, the tank just becomes colder, and that's why you see that extra frost on it. It's very thin frost. You can see sort of the clear difference there between where it goes from thick to thin, and that is essentially the level of the liquid oxygen now on that tank. That sort of, I don't know, frontier transition between one of and the other. Yeah, that's where the liquid oxygen is right now. Oh, there we go. Engine chill. As it started, just boy, as expected. So the test should be in about 30 minutes or so.
Sounds good.
Woohoo!
Phil Easter, for some reason, I don't know why, but the panel is misbehaving at the moment, so your $50 super sticker didn't show up. But thank you so much for that. That's a significant amount of support there, which is greatly appreciated, and I'm very sorry that for some reason we can't show it on screen. But at least you get your name and the thing at the top of the chat window. But yeah, sorry we can't show that for some reason. It's just not been pulled in. I do know that the devs in the background are currently working on fixing it. So yeah. We have Peter, who's become a Pad Rat member as well, so you get access to the members multi-view. We also have Bruce, who has upgraded to a Red Team membership. And we have Patrick, I wonder if that's our Patrick, off the store with the Starbase calendar for this year. At least you can still use the remaining 9 and a bit months of the year. How long will it take Starship to reach orbit? Alex, how long will it take Starship to reach orbit, as you call it?
Does it refer to the orbit, as I call it, or as, as in general? How many flights will it take? I'm gonna answer the first, and then I'll give my sort of guess on the second. The first is the ship will take about 8.5 minutes to get into its trajectory. So the booster is gonna burn for about 2.5 minutes. Again, I don't have the timeline right in front of me. I believe it's like 2:42, but essentially 2.5 minutes for all intents and purposes. So 2.5 minutes of booster flight, 6 minutes of the ship, and so 8.5 minutes after launch. That's when the ship will arrive into its sort of orbital thing, whatever you want to call it. And then whenever it actually goes into a proper orbit, that's a whole different question, I guess. Like, when is it going to be that? I'm mostly sure that's going to be with a Starship V2 vehicle. I don't think these V1 vehicles will be the ones for that. That's my take. Maybe Ryan, you have a take on that?
I'm going to agree with you because you know more than me.
Doesn't need to be like that. You also have opinions. You can voice them.
Okay.
Even if I am against them and they are wrong or something. I'm joking for those watching. I'm joking.
Chris B in the back channel had, in order to explain this philosophy better to Trevor, has gone around his house and he's took a picture of a towel and he's taken a picture of a tea towel and he's compared them. So hopefully Trevor now better understands the difference between a towel and a tea towel. I found that very funny. It's a shame that nobody can see that, but I found it very funny. The Mythical NSF back channel. It's just towel and tea towel comparisons.
You can dry your dishes with it. Hang on, if it's a tea towel and I dry my dishes with it, why would I need a tea towel? Wouldn't it be a dish towel?
It's a tea towel.
Yeah, dish towel. People are agreeing with me in the chat.
Trevor now hitting back with the Office meme of corporate needs you to find the difference between this picture and this picture, and he's put the towel and the tea towel.
I don't understand.
And then it says they're the same picture.
Notice how it's the American office, by the way, not the British one.
Yes, that is true.
I mean, on paper, the American office is more successful because it ran for longer than the British office. So you do have that. I will be honest, you do have that.
Someone asking, is this a space channel? Look, there's an actual space reference here. You gotta carry your towel if you want to go to space. Just saying. I did sort of like a third reference there, but I hope a lot of people get that reference.
Nigel has done a £5 Great British Pound Sterling super chat saying SpaceX have only landed Starship successfully once. Why have they not used the last 3 years to get the landing process consistently successful? Trevor, why have they not used the last 3 years to get the landing process consistently successful?
because they would rather focus that time and energy on orbital flights. After they showed that it was possible to land with SN15 and land with off-nominal conditions, I'll add, it was clear that it's possible. So at that point, why keep working on that? They would rather work on everything, right? When they're doing these test flights now, not only do they get to practice that more if they survive re-entry, but they also get to get data from re-entry. They get to get data on ascent. They get to get 2 hours of Raptor time, Raptor flight time per launch. So it just makes so much more sense for them to do these orbital tests and focus on getting to the orbital test than it was for them to keep doing these suborbital tests. That said, as a space fan, I so want them to do more of the suborbital ones. I am so sad that I never got to see one in person, because those seem like the craziest things that have been done.
I'm seeing now, I don't know why, but everyone in chat seems to be arguing about towels. I think we may have started something that we cannot control. This community is very unique, in which we now have tribalism about towels versus T-towels on a Starship 29 spin prime test stream. And another vent there from Ship 29.
It looks cool though. No pun intended.
I think that pun was 100% intended, Alex.
No, it wasn't. I just say everything is cool all the time. This is cool, and everything is cool. Yeah. That's cooler though.
Alfredo has become a Red Team member. Thanks very much for that. And we have Max upgrading to Capcom membership level. That means you now get access to the Discord and all of the madness that goes on in there. You also get access to things like the interview questions channel. So you saw yesterday. What's today? Thursday. So yes, yesterday, Lon interviewed ULA's Mark Peller about Vulcan. And because we only had him for a little time, we couldn't do any audience questions. But pretty much all of the questions that Lon asked were taken from the NSF member Discord. So those are the sort of things you can get involved in by becoming a Capcom member or above. So yeah, that's a thing. If you want it, that's a thing. That's 100% a thing. And we also have Beck Zod becoming a Capcom member. Sorry if I pronounced your name incorrectly. And Anonymous with a store message, who has purchased the IFT3 patch, says patch over towel. And speaking of towels, the man, the myth, the legend who compared the towel to the tea towel, Mr. Chris Bergin, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm trying to work out why people are thinking they could dry their dishes with a bath towel. It doesn't make any sense at all.
So I have a question for you. If you have a towel in the bathroom.
Yes.
So that's a towel.
Yes.
Then you wash the towel and you put it in the kitchen.
No.
But they're the same thing.
No. If your bath towel needs washing, you put it in the washing machine, you then take it out and dry it and you put it back in the bathroom. You don't keep it in the kitchen for kitchen requirements.
So if you have a hand towel in the bathroom and you want a hand towel in your kitchen so you can wash your hands in your kitchen sink, is that then a towel or a tea towel?
Well, that's a towel. You see, you're trying to find caveats here, Trevor, which is, by the way, Ship 29 is Frosty. Welcome to NS, everybody. The tea towel is a different composition. I actually provided you pictures, Trevor, to show you the complete differences between the two items. One, you cannot really get a good purchase on the dish when you're cleaning it dry after taking it out the sink. So that's a tea towel. The ones that you dry your hands with and dry your body with after a shower, that's a towel.
And ladies and gents, I'll leave you with this.
Yeah, thanks, Ryan. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for starting. Who started this off? Who started the tea towel debate off?
Someone in chat.
Yeah, someone in chat.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Then.
We got support, and someone mentioned tea towel, and then people were asking what was a tea towel. And that's how it all started.
You know what I'd say to that? Moving on. Let's get back to what we're looking. No, God, no, we're going to McGregor, are we? Oh, no. I like this view, by the way. This view's quite cool. This looks like Ship 28's being held back by the chopsticks. Just let them test. Your time's coming. Just stay back. And Ship 29's getting its little time in the spotlight. This is fascinating, though. I'm sure it's been covered, but I'm going to cover it anyway because I'm here now. Oh, big vent. We're looking at Flight 4 here. This is the vehicle for Flight 4. We're about to see Flight 3 potentially next week. But this is Flight 4 preparations. And they may even get a static fire testing before they have to roll it back for Flight 3. So we are getting to that position where I get rather excited, probably a little bit too excited, about the potential that SpaceX may be able to prove, with a bit of flex, shall we say, as the kids say, bit of flex by saying, okay, we've launched Flight 3, Flight 4 is in 6 weeks' time. I don't think they'll ever announce such a thing. They wouldn't do that. But if they could target internally, let's try and get Flight 4 off 6 weeks after Flight 3, then that starts to increase the cadence. I don't think they've got a chance of doing like 9 flights in a year, which is what I've heard them claim they want to do. But I think they'd certainly get to an improvement stage where we're not waiting months between flights. And they have to do that, by the way. They have a mega big contract with SpaceX, which involves lots and lots of tanker launches, where they have to be able to launch lots of vehicles in a short period of time. So they have to go for that. That's not any kind of like showing off. It's part of the requirements of a very, very large NASA contract for Starship. Thoughts?
My thoughts is in the future we may see, with a static fire stand that they're doing at Massey's, we may see like multiple ships being tested on the same week. We see that at McGregor with second stages, where we see multiple second stages being tested at McGregor, multiple of them every single week. It'll be there'll be a moment where ships just are like waiting in a line to get into Massey's to be static fire test and go fly. And once they go fly for the first time, I assume that they're gonna do like Falcon 9 boosters, where they come back, they'll get reused, and they don't need to static fire them anymore. They just get static fired once before their first flight, and then they don't get static fired anymore. Or maybe when they are, when they change the engines. Like, that's the future. The future is vehicles piled up, needing to fly. Right? We're saying, oh, well, Ship 29, it's waiting for Ship 28 and boosted. That's not piling up. That's a little, one of these vehicles is just waiting around. But piling up, that's going to be probably dozens of these, like, waiting in the wings to fly. That's going to be awesome when we have that.
And we discussed the issue with an increased cadence relating to the propeller, because Stephen Lawtree asked me a question from 30 minutes ago, but anyway, we've got so many questions. I will try and speed run as many as I can. I'll ask how high a cadence methane and LOX resupply will have to be in the pipelines to cater for such a thing. Is it a constant convoy? I think is what he's trying to ask there, but I'll go with that. So we're looking at the propellant supplies, because they did have that almost like a prop farm, didn't they, at the production site, which they were planning to use, but that's not become a thing that I can tell, Alex. Is that correct? They've basically scrapped the idea of doing something on site at the production site. I'm going to stick with tankers.
Yeah, for now they have to stick with the tankers. In the future, one could imagine that they have like a reservoir outside of the launch complex, and that reservoir just basically pipes into the main tanks here at the tank farm, and from the tank farm it goes to the vehicles, right? You could think something like that, but then to fill that reservoir, you need trucks coming in, basically constantly to those. The other alternative will be to just have its own, again, kind of pipeline to that reservoir. That could be a thing. But yeah, it's gonna be very complicated. But that's the whole thing, right? It was also gonna be complicated to just land a booster out in the ocean and figure out how to bring it back, recover it, and how to do all of these marine asset things that SpaceX has more or less mastered with Falcon 9, and we're gonna get mastering of other things in the future with the Starship as well. There are gonna be a lot of things that they haven't tried before, such as, for example, we're gonna see this on the third flight, cryogenic transfer in orbit. That hasn't been done at the scale that we are gonna see with the Starship. We've seen subscale demonstrations of just a few kilograms at most with cryogenics. This is tons that we're talking about, literal tons, and multiple times. It's not just going to be this third flight, and it's not just going to be between tanks on this third flight. Eventually we'll see multiple ships being, docked to propellant stations in orbit and things like that. We're going to see a lot of things that we haven't seen before, and that's the exciting part of this program, I should say.
I say we've got a lot of questions. I've just scrolled through about 20 of them, just correcting Trevor about tea towels. So I'm just going to catch up a little bit there. There we go. Back onto regular questions. By the way, Electric Dawn says, did a super chat with the German word for tea towel, which is totally different from a regular towel. Well said, Electric Dawn. Thank you. What plans do... We're looking at these tanks here. It's the right-hand side of the screen, to the right of Ship 29, if what people want references to this question here. What plans do SpaceX have for the vertical tanks? Will others be reinforced or taken down and replaced? So we're looking at a tank farm. We're seeing the reinforced tanks that... Oh, right in the middle of the screen now. Thank you, Jay. Where they've reinforced it. They've taken two tanks away, which were water tanks, weren't they? And that's what's remaining now. Do you think they'll leave them as is there? Will they reinforce the other ones, or will they take them all down? What do you think?
I think slowly they'll start to take these all down. Elon has talked about on several occasions that they want to transition to just the hot dog style tanks, as those are just a little bit more reliable and will last them longer. So I would imagine that the long-term, the only one that will stay up are, I think there are 2 water tanks now, I can't remember, but the water tanks will stay up, and the rest will be taken down.
Very good. Good question here for you, Trevor, here, from JS Web Productions, who asked, why does Starship have 3 sea-level Raptors and 3 vacuum Raptors, and not just 6 Raptor vacuums?
Yeah, so there are kind of 2 good reasons for that. The first is Starship is going to have to do burns at sea level, and that's going to be for landing. So you want to have some sea level engines for that, because having the flow or the combustion instability on the vacuum engines would not be ideal for when you're trying to land. Plus, to land you need gimbaling, and you don't really want to be gimbaling the enormous RVAC engines when you're trying to, you don't want to be quickly gimbaling those. It's easier to just be quickly gimbaling the sea level engines. Then on top of that, all of the RVAC engines are actually fixed, so they would have to have some sort of control on orbit for roll, yaw, and pitch, and that all comes from those 3 sea level engines. And having the sea level engines gives them a little bit more capability to have an engine out. So if an engine goes out, they can just gimbal the sea levels over a little bit to compensate for it. So there are kind of many reasons why it makes more sense to have sea level engines on the second stage of Starship.
A little bit of a status update where we are, Alex. Right now, we're near the level of where we need to be for prop loading. Now we're looking for next indications. What indications should we be looking for next, and where do you think we are ahead of the T0 for what we think is a spin prime test?
Yes, I actually looked back to the past 2 spin prime tests with Ship 28, and so far Ship 29 seems to be going through a similar timeline here. So we are expecting, based on these indicators that we usually see, essentially I only used 2 for the previous flights, but you could think of many other indicators. I used when frost appears on the vehicle, and when the engine chill pipes start venting. So I used that, and I came up with 2:21 p.m. Central, based on the previous flights. Normally, so in total, from frost to test, for the two spin prime tests that we saw on Ship 28, it took about 72 minutes. And so based on that, again, it will be a test around 2:21 p.m. Central. Again, I only use two indicators, but as we can see here right now, you also have things like the header tank vents, because I'm seeing right now the header tanks on Ship 29 are venting. We also see extra vents on the skirt of the vehicle, basically on the engine section of the vehicle. Those could, in theory, be used as indicators, but they are not as visible, like I should say, right, as the frost and the engine chill pipes. Those are very visible. As you can see there, we see a lot of frost in the vehicle. We see a lot of venting from the engine chill pipes at the bottom. So essentially, that is a way easier way to detect these indications to guess when this test is going to happen. So in about 8 minutes from now, it should be it has one, like plus minus 1 minute on each end, so we'll see.
Basically, Alex, you're saying that in 8 minutes' time we shouldn't be talking about tea towels. We should be looking out for the bottom of this engine. So yeah, and you say 1 minute either side. You really hope. I mean, if it is within that 1 minute margin of error and it does do a spin prime, that'd be amazing. I must admit, I think we should all applaud you if it is that timing. I'd hasten to put you on the spot for that, because we know what Starship's like. They've got mini holes and everything.
Yeah, that is also true. They could hold the test, and so in that case, the test will obviously be at a different time, but hopefully it does happen at the 21-minute mark here, past the hour.
Okay, well, let's get the tea towels out of the way, because we've got one more super chat to deal with. 1979 Camaro says basically it's known as a dish rag in the southern United States. Does that help you, Trevor?
Yeah, but to me but dish rag to me actually has a little bit different of a connotation. I think of a dish rag as something that you used to actually wash the dishes, and you're talking about drying them, right?
Yeah. I think I'll just stick our original plan. Difference between towels and quickly move on. Oh, big vent. Big vent. Alex, just for the...
That's interesting.
Yeah. What was that?
They're venting through all of the 3 vents on the liquid oxygen tank, and now the methane tank as well. You see, there's like one vent to the right. That is one of the, as we call it, the roll control thrusters on Starship, because it uses the on-tank vents as the thrusters, right? So there are 2 vents are sort of on the side looking outwards, and so those could be used as roll control thrusters, but that is a long vent. I don't know if they are gonna do... It could mean 2 things. One of them we don't like, one of them we like. So I'm gonna go with the we don't like first, and we get it out of the way. The one that we don't like is if it could be a depressed vent, right? And by depressed vent, I mean it could be on a board, right? And then, oh my god, they're detanking the vehicle. But the good sign could be, hey, maybe they're doing that quirky test that they did with both Ship 26 and Ship 28, where they tested conditions for an in-space burn, which now know that Ship 28 will attempt. And frankly, Ship 29 could also attempt as well, so maybe they're testing that. That is a possibility, so of course we're going to keep our eyes on whatever happens in the next few minutes.
Yeah, I remember those. That initial time we thought, oh, depressed vent, and then suddenly it's starting fired. Again, we're not including the fact that it could start fire. We're never going to say no, but there's been no notice. That doesn't mean it's definitely not going to happen, because we've had one static fire without a notice before. But we don't think it's a static fire. We think it's spin prime today.
Or
we'll soon find out.
It could even be that it is a spin prime test, but with those conditions for an in-space burn. Like, I don't know. Like, it could be anything, right? SpaceX sometimes tries new testing, and who knows?
Well, it's 17 minutes past. We're keeping on that 21 minutes past with the 1 minute margin of error. We'll soon find out. You've got a habit of being correct, so I'm being very careful not to be in mid-ramble during that period of time, because we'll keep a close eye on the after the vehicle and see what happens.
Yep.
Will there be any more indications, Alex? Will you say, oh, like that, with a minute to go? Is there anything else to look out for?
We should see the water, and that occurs even for a spin prime test nowadays. It used to not be there for a spin prime test, but lately it seems like they're putting it out there, I guess, for just good luck or something. I don't really know, but they still activate the water. It's like a little hose that comes out of the test stand on the bottom, and so it will come from the right to the left in this view. And so if we see that, then we know that the test is very much upcoming.
Stephen in chat asked, no Raptor today. This is a Raptor pretty much, because it's pointless doing Raptor on one channel and doing a live commentary of this on the other channel. I basically want it. So this is what you're getting as far as the talking goes. While we're keeping a very close eye, Alex, will you interrupt me within seconds of seeing anything you want me to be interrupted on, while I do a few quick ones which I can answer myself?
Go quickly.
Oh, I'm so scared.
Ooh.
Right, so Chris Panoke says, you told me I was over ambitious for calling 6 launches to Sheard. Care to that back after they said 9? No, because I think they were being overly ambitious as well. So I think 6 is, to be fair to you, Chris, I think 6 is maybe more realistic now. Let's go with that. I would be happy with 4. I'd be overjoyed with 5. I'd be ecstatic with 6. Anything more than that, I'm thinking, wow, okay, that's amazing. So I don't know. We'll see how this goes. What we need is IFT3 to go well and not require the FAA to go through another big review process, and that won't delay things quite a while, because they've got vehicles lined up. If things start going well, they have the vehicles and they could do the testing now. We know they could do the testing pretty much using masses for cryos, and then using the launch site for static fires, and eventually they'll be using masses for static fires as well. You can see how they'll increase the cadence. So I'm with you on that one. But let's just see how it goes. I don't want to get too ambitious with this, because you look silly if this, heaven forbid, blows up on the pad and takes the tower out. Then you're not going to get 6 launches this year. So that's how it works. 19 minutes past. No, 20 minutes past. I'm being very careful here. I'm sticking to Alex's timeline just in case.
I'm
no
looking very closely so that I don't miss it either.
Okay, Cat Murphy asks, if Elon builds in other countries, will you cover those locations as well? Well, first of all, it's massively expensive to do what we do. This is not like one camera on an iPhone and a stick in the road. This is multiple cameras on land we own, which is crazy to even state that. That's why we've got our own little plots in several locations around Starbase on these big towers and big control panels and systems and what have you. It's a lot of money involved in this. Investing that into another country for what would be, I don't know, maybe a point-to-point area. I don't know if it's viable. There's so many conditions you can't do. You can't just plonk cameras anywhere. You've got to work within rules and regulations. So I'd love to say yes, but I'm trying to think why there'd be other countries involved. It'd probably be point-to-point. And point-to-point comes to fruition, I'd be a very happy person, because I love point-to-point. 21 minutes past. Here we go. Let's see if the water comes on.
I'm looking.
Wow, Mats. 50 gifted memberships. Not for the first time. I've seen you've got your own chatbot command. That's how regularly you are with our support. That is amazing support. Please don't feel obligated to do such massive support, because that is crazy levels. And it's a combination of everybody helping out, and all the guests and all the people who just subscribe to the channel. It all helps. It all adds up. When someone does that, that's just absolutely crazy. But 50 people became a member for free, thanks to Mats. So everyone say thank you, Mats, in chat. I was kind of hoping for Alex to say, whoa.
I'm kind of nervous. This is looking like not as much activity as we would want, given the proximity to a test.
That engine chill pipe not venting for a while has me worried. And the fact that we have passed already 221, and obviously no water has been seen or anything for the test.
How long do we give it before we have to revert to the bad vent compared to the potentially good vent?
I'm starting
I'm
to think it's
thinking-
bad.
Yeah, I'm thinking it's probably also a bad vent too. Yeah, given this, I actually, because when we saw the vent and I obviously saw the engine chill pipe stop venting, I also went back to check on other testing and and basically see if the whole thing just basically is very normal to see. It is true that close to the test it does kind of pause, but it then comes back, it pauses, it comes back. This completely stopped. So that was my worry here for this, and we are past now 23 minutes. This will be already way off the timeline.
Well, I've asked chat.
Yeah.
I always like to ask chat. I've gone with the poll by asking the question: the big vent earlier.
Oh,
Was it a good vent or a
can
bad
we
vent?
can we show Mars, please?
Alex has seen something.
Yeah. Yeah, you can see there the vent stack is running.
Ah,
Well,
And yeah, that is usually an indicator. It's not the only indicator, but it's usually one of the indicators that detanking is in progress. So, yeah.
to be fair,
That's
it was all going swimmingly when Ryan was hosting. It's my fault. So I take the blame. Sorry, chat. I've ruined the test for today. The fun thing is, you can't feel sad about this because it's Ship 29. It's not like launch day with IFT3, where we're all excited and the crowds are in, everyone's cheering and waiting for this big, massive rocket to its Mega Mark diamond, and then it goes, depress vent. We all go, boo! It's only Ship 29. It's only potentially a spin prime test as well, so it's not, oh, what a shame. That's ruined my Thursday. I can end the poll now because everyone's just doing bad vent. It's absolutely pointless poll now. Thank you. There we go. I do have another question while we're waiting to see how this goes, which we don't think is going very well so far. From Chairman, who asks, any long-term plans for the deluge? Are they going to keep trucking in water?
good question. That is pretty much along the same lines as the propellant, right?
Yeah.
Unlike the propellants, you can actually recover some of the water and treat it, but not all of it, because a really huge amount of the water just gets evaporated due to the force of the engines. Essentially, the heat of the engines evaporates that water, and then the pressure of the engines kind of throws it away, very far away. You can recover some, but you cannot recover all of it. So the only alternative that you have is that you have some kind of pipeline that goes out to your ground tanks near the launch pad. For example, at Kennedy Space Center, they have like a big central reserve of water in between Launch Complex 39A and Launch Complex 39B, where they have these big, huge water tanks, like really, really huge. And then from there, they pump that water up to the water tanks that you see that are elevated. People think that those are the storage tanks. Those are not the storage tanks. Those are only full when they are in the countdown, preparing for launch. They fill them up. And Chris, you probably will mention here now that in the shuttle, it was very typical to see them towards the end, that they used to have this little vent at the top, and they will just start to, throw out water to confirm that they are indeed full of the water. And so we see that as well with Falcon 9, but it is definitely a heritage there with the shuttle.
Yeah, that's a fun story. Everyone, I mentioned it several times, but I'm sure there's probably people in here who might not have heard the story, that the water tower at 39A and B, but the tower still exists at 39A from the historical shuttle era, is that they never actually bothered to put sensors in the water tower because they decided the only way they really needed to do to find out if the water tower was full before they used it for the sound suppression system was to overfill it past the overflow valve, and it would then squirt water out so they could visibly see it from 3 miles away at the control center that the water tower was full because it was gushing water out. That literally is why. So whenever you see people, I see people panicking during SpaceX streams in 39A where they go, "Oh, the water tower looks broken, it's leaking." No, that is actually on purpose. Emma Bentley asks, "How about Starbase Stoke-on-Trent or Starbase Dirty Leeds?" I can't think of two places I would not want to visit. Apologies to anyone from Stoke. No apologies to anyone from Leeds. But it's. I think we're looking at coastal areas, aren't we? Let's face it. If it ever happens point to point, it is an if. We do. I love the idea, the concept of it, but it is an if point to point becomes a thing. But we are looking at. It's going to be offshore. You're going to be getting a fast boat out to the platform where the vehicle is. There'd be no, I mean, it's asking a lot to even allow that, but there'd be no internal landing, I should say. That's just not going to happen, I don't think. I've got the Leeds fans in chat very angry at me, but I don't care. It's a football thing. Sorry, soccer. Hendrik YouTube asks, what about buying TPS tiles? Is there any good place to do so? Is that legal? Actual tiles from Starship technically still belong to SpaceX. If you were walking down Boca Chica Beach and you found tiles from a rutted vehicle, I'm sure you probably could get away with keeping it for yourself as a memento, but then putting it on eBay might be not a clever idea. I don't know how serious they take things, but I always use the policy of that if you find something from a vehicle, it's very nice to hand it back to the company anyway, because they may find something interesting in that could be helping for future flights. Technically, it's their property, though, really is. I'd be careful about that. I'm sure you could buy replica versions of it somewhere. I'd say that probably be the safest thing to do, because I'm hoping that it gets to the situation where tiles aren't shedding off the vehicle to the point that you can collect them. Let's face it, we want to see this vehicle succeed. And a lot of tiles did come off IFT2, ship 20... My brain's gone. Ship 25?
25, yeah.
Yeah,
25.
This is where we are now. That we've got so many vehicles, my brain just gives up on where we are. We've got 28 on the right, 29 on the stand Frosty right now. And the last one that launched was 25. Did very well, let's face it. I mean, they're looking... Actually, that's a good point, because ship 25 was actually not as modified as ship 28 is. So we got more chances of success, just like we saw with the difference between booster 7 and booster 10. There was a big progression curve there. So that's something very encouraging, where hopefully the IFT3 will succeed with the full objectives that they're looking to achieve. And I will be very careful, I'm going to rabbit hole here, but be very careful to note that if they lose the vehicle during re-entry, that's not terrible. What do you mean, Chris, that's not terrible? That would be amazing data points for them. Imagine being able to get the data points so early on to help them refine their TPS, their heat shield for future vehicles. That would be absolutely fantastic. So if it does succeed and works and they get it back and it splashes down intact, brilliant. If it doesn't, not a disaster, not a negative headline at all, because they will have got so much data from that, it'll benefit future vehicles.
Well, there will be negative headlines no matter how this flight goes.
Oh yeah, it'd be Elon electric car maker Elon's vehicle explodes. Yeah.
Yeah.
with a Ford Chevrolet advert next to it. We know how the media works. Well, I know how the media works. I've been involved in the mainstream media myself. It's a minefield. It's a conveyor belt of nonsense. There we go. On Renzo says, I forgot to like the stream. Well, on Renzo, it's just down there. You just press it and it goes. It takes you a second to do, and it does help us. That's something, by the way. I always point this up, and I'm not even joking. If you are like a fan of what we do, you like what we do. You don't have to be a fan, just like what we do. And you're thinking, well, I'm not buying a membership, and you might not be able to afford to buy a membership, which is the majority of people. I completely understand that. Liking a stream takes you a second. It's free, and it helps us. Seriously. People go, really? Does it help? Yeah, it does. Remember all those channels you see out there claiming to be SpaceX, and they're basically just doing repeat of Elon speeches with cryo links, crypto links, cryo links, all those cryo scams. I tell you, they're trying to sell you methane. those terrible channels, they auto-bot the likes to get higher in the where you search for SpaceX. So when you like a legitimate stream like ours or someone else's, where we're legitimately covering SpaceX, that brings us higher in the rankings of when you search for these kind of subject matters. So that is why likes help us and helps you and helps other people, because it means there's less chance that some poor soul who may be just getting into rockets for the first time types SpaceX in and has to watch 12 hours of Elon doing a speech about nothing relevant to the video, and it's basically a link to crypto scams. There we go. They went a little rant there. Wow, lots of super chat. Oh, store messages, in fact. Thank you very much. This is great. I'm going to read this out. Dean Brilliant's on the tea towel still. Trevor, tea towel equals flour sack towel for USA. Does that make any sense?
Earth, I have never heard the term flour sack towel.
No, I've never either. Well, I'll go with Dean. Maybe there's 90 to 100 people in chat going, that's right. Thank you for pointing that out. It must be a regional thing.
Huh.
Is anyone Googling it?
Yeah, I Googled it. It's like towels when you're dealing with like baking bread. There's like these specific towels, and I think that's what. I don't know. I'm not a baker.
You could use a tea towel to clean out your baking utensil. I'm going down this rabbit hole again. Let's move on. The Watch gifted a Red Team membership. Thank you to Watch, and whoever lucky person got the gifted membership, please say thank you in chat, 'cause it's nice. Carl got a load of stuff from the store. I'm going to click on them and see what he got. So here we go. And he just says, enjoy all the great coverage on everything space. Thank you. Carl's still buying things from the store. I've seen about 6. There we go. So we've got a patch. I heard it earlier when I was listening in, and it wasn't a joke. Ryan was saying the absolute truth. We buy patches in bulk because there's no way you can do it viably. You can't then go buying more patches if you run out. So we literally do say, look, once they run out, they've run out, and we do mean it. It's no like, haha, and then a month later we got like another stock of it in. That's not going to happen. Literally not going to happen. So once we run out, we run out. And it looks like Carl has gone patch crazy here. Here we go. I'm clicking on things. While we're watching, Alex, if you see any kind of sign of frost receding, please let me know, because I'm quite worried that might be the case. Yep, Carl's gone patch crazy.
Well, right now the frost receding is going to be a little bit hard to see, because the rest of the tank is frosty, mainly from the venting that we saw before. Well, we can see now some of the nitrogen side of the things towards the left here, where it says gateway, right above the GNA. You can see that downwards vent that is related. Sometimes we associate it with more of this process of detanking. We believe those are nitrogen tanks, essentially. And so, yeah, it's not good overall.
Not to worry, this is why we cover these things, because it's interesting. It's never that routine, that it's almost like robotic that we cover these things. It's always exciting. It is literally like we used to call it tank watching. We started off that way. It was tank watching, and it still is, because we're still learning. There's no running commentary from SpaceX. There's no internal back loop where we're listening in our other ear, where they're telling us what's going on. We are watching along with you all and observing it best we can. It's fun. It really is kind of fun to not know what's coming next. And let's remember, we're only about a week or so away from potentially a full stack IFT-3 Starship launching again, and I cannot wait. It really is. I keep looking back on the videos, especially IFT-2 with the Megamark Diamond. That was stunning. I cannot wait for that launch day, so that is really fun. I've just got one really good question here I want to make sure we get asked, because it is a good question for me and Hamilton, who asks, do you think when sea level and vacuum engines are firing together, the plume from the vacuum engines will confine the sea level plume and increase the efficiency in a vacuum? That's one for Trevor at least. I'm going to put it into the panel so you can see it properly, because that is quite a big word. Big question.
Oh boy, so that is an interesting thought. My uneducated guess would be yes, but not by any large amount. The pressure at the end of the engines is very low, and that's what you want, is because you have very, very high pressure in the main combustion chamber, and then the whole point of the nozzle is you want to change that high pressure into high velocity in one direction, because higher velocity means more efficient. So you want very low pressure at the end, because that means you've done a lot of work on the gas to get it to a high velocity. So I'm gonna say probably, but not by much, but I have no idea.
Alex, any input on that one?
Oops, sorry, I was muted. There might be something, but it is all like expanded. So if it confines, it'll probably be like already outside of the engine and outside of the engine bay. I don't think it'll really matter that much. We'll see.
Shamil Nathan actually brings up a point saying, yes, it creates an aerospike effect. Now, whether or not we want to dive into that, I want to just give a quick shout out to the X-33 Venture Star, which was one of my first non-space shuttle vehicles that I followed. The XRS 2200 engine was amazing. I was so upset that Venture Star was ahead of its time, because the tankage was basically a flying fuel tank, and it was an SSTO, single stage to orbit, that's going to launch from Vandenberg, or Edwards I should say. Incredible vehicle that could have really changed a lot of things faster, shall we say, the reusability factor. I really hoped that vehicle could have survived, but unfortunately never did. But fun thing is, Tori Bruno worked on the Venture Star as well, who's with ULA now, and there's lots and lots of stories about that vehicle. But now we're into the area of full reusability with a proper vehicle that is mega capable compared to Venture Star, which is Starship. So we're looking forward to that. I'm just looking at that view there. We've got some definite frost receding, which means I think this test may be coming to a conclusion where they're not going to do a spin prime test. What do we think, guys? Alex?
Yeah. It's definitely looking like they are obviously detanking. We saw all of those signs already, and some of the frost is already starting to recede as well. It's starting to come down. Yeah, even if they retry it again, it will still take them. They will have to detank, try again, but in between that, whatever caused this abort or this hold or whatever, they also need to figure that out. And perhaps, most of the time what we see is them just, aborting for the day and then going ahead the next day, which, in that case, it will be, again, in a 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. central window. And sometimes what we see is that they try to take the rest of the window instead to just figure out what happened, fix it, and try again the next day. That is sometimes what they try to do, because when you abort for things like weather and things like that, you still have the opportunity, or like a sensor that is off, you still probably have the opportunity to recycle again. And for example, if it's a sensor, you just tell the vehicle, forget about that sensor. Or if it's the weather, you wait around for better weather. Or if it's someone in the range or something, you just wait for the range to clear. Like, those things are viable. If it is something deeper than that, though, most of the time what they do is just they pause for the day and they come back the next day once they figured it out and they fixed it, the problem, all that stuff.
I've got to deal with this. It's a super chat as well, but I'd have dealt with it a normal question. James Jury says, hot take, but the Venture Star sucked, and Rockwell's X-33 should have been chosen. Right, so we're talking about down selected. I will defend the Venture Star because it was at Lockheed Martin Skunk Works. I remember going to an internet cafe. This is going back years. You can tell it's the early days of the internet with a Netscape navigator and a dial-up modem where it would load pictures, like scroll down. When it was loading a JPEG, it would scroll down the screen. That's how fast the internet was back then. And I used to religiously go, after doing my education, to an internet cafe to download the webcam, the one photo of the webcam per day that is put on the NASA site. The NASA site back in the day was it was really archaic, but it was literally one of the first decent websites where you could get photos and stuff of things. And it was on the X projects part because NASA was then projecting lots of future vehicles, which were very sci-fi. It was fascinating to watch. But I fell in love with the X-33 because the ability to, it was accessibility that you probably still won't get today. It was like rare. I can't imagine a webcam in Blue Origin's factory, for example, because the commercial aspect, because it was a NASA contract with Lockheed Martin, they'd obviously got a deal where they said, well, okay, NASA, you can put one of our photos per day on this web stream. And I just fell in love with it. I thought it was an amazing vehicle. It was the first real proper reusability, because the space shuttle was classed reusable, but it wasn't fully reusable. The Orbital was, but then with a lot of maintenance between flights. But the external tank was destroyed, the SRBs were brought back and then taken apart with casings. So yeah, that's why I fell in love with the X-33. So I will defend it to my dying days. I'm going to check out the Rockwell version of it, to be fair to you, Jamester. The Watcher gifted a Red Team membership. Thank you, The Watcher. Kevin has been in our store. By the way, I always say this: the store. I think the store is a cool thing because if you want to support us, I like the idea of you getting something as well. We appreciate the super chats. We appreciate you all. It doesn't matter if you super chat or not. It's a numbers game. I'd rather have over 5,000 people in here now, where 90% are not members, than have 500 people in here are all members, because that's just less people. I like the idea of us being able to be viable enough to have it to support a free stream, which it is, to everybody who wants to watch it, and that's what it allows. It works. I do like it where we have a lot of people who aren't even members. Again, if you like the stream, it just helps. You're all very much welcome, but when we get support in the store as well, it's cool because you're helping us, but you're helping yourself as well. You're getting something, and if you get a metal print, you're even helping the photographer, because they get a cut on top of what we pay them for every metal print, because they took the photograph. So there's lots of ways you can help us and help yourself as well. And the store is where you get something from Mr. Postman through the post from us, and it's cool. My wall is covered in metal prints to prove the point. Anyway, Kevin, what does he get? Let's see what Kevin got. Love the coverage. I got some new patches. You've already told us. I'm going to put it on screen. Let's see what patches you got, Kevin. You got the IFT3. How many? I don't know what we've got left. I'm really wondering if we'll get through the IFT3 launch. Not run out. It really is going to get quite close. But you've got them, and you got the... Let's see which one's... The IFT2 patch as well. Well done. Nice patches. Pauline does amazing work with these designs. That's our Pauline, by the way. She is an amazing person, artist. And she's really created some wonderful ones there. And she's already working on IFT4, but I'm not going to leak anything. There we go. Right. I'm not allowed to leak. I'll get into trouble.
Adrian would be mad.
He'd be mad, but yes, but I'm notorious. I'm a blabbermouth. I'm a professional blabbermouth by trade, and I just can't help myself sometimes. I just like to feel popular. I'll tell you my secrets if you like me. Yeah. So where do we stand now? I think we're going to keep going for a bit longer, just to see how much this tanks. What's the window for today? I never actually checked that, Alex. What's the window for today in case they do think of cycling?
So they have a lot of time.
Yeah.
8 a.m. to 8 p.m.
This is not showing any signs of a recycle right now.
Yeah.
The
Is
fun
that
thing
poop on that tank on the right?
Is that what? Did I hear that correctly, Alex?
You did.
Yeah. Is that bird poop?
I don't think Gary is capable of that amount of poop.
But I mean, over time, Chris, I didn't mean like once, like over time. Multiple Garys could probably do all of that, right?
Wow.
I don't know. I'm just curious. I saw that and I was like, huh.
Well, Gary does have friends. Let's face it. It's not just one single grackle at Starbase, as we've found out many a time. For the amount of times a fat bird has sat on our camera and made it shake, we're all thinking, "Why is our camera shaking?" Oh, it's a fat bird. But no, I think that is just worn down, isn't it? It's not. I can't be discussing bird poop. Tea towels are bad enough. But we can quickly move on. I'm going to ask Adrian. I was going to type, but I can't multitask. Adrian, can I mention what you told me in the back room? Can I give that figure, or is it just for my own knowledge? I'm waiting for Adrian to catch up with my voice and see if he'll type. Yes, I can. Right, Adrian says we've got roughly 30% left of the patch 3, so that is we're down to 30%. So I wasn't joking, and I really do stress we are not getting more in afterwards. We can't. It's
And
just
we're
not
still
viable.
1 week away from the launch.
I know. I mean, the launch streams are crazy. I mean, we're getting to six figures. You think there's a lot watching now? There's six figures usually watching on the Starship launch streams. I don't think that's ever going to go down that much as well. I think it'll obviously never be like the record, but it'll. The novelty. I can't see the novelty wear off with this vehicle. I really can't. Chat, back me up on this. Do you think that by flight 10 there'll be far less people watching because they've got used to it? Do you think the novelty will have worn off? I don't think so. Because
That brings me.
Go on, Alex.
That brings me some fun memories of SpaceX deciding during the 10th flight of Falcon 9. Wow, this was like 10 years ago when it happened. They decided to not stream the launch, and a lot of people got angry because they were like, "What? No, you have to stream this." And they were saying that the sort of the explanation that SpaceX gave was, well, the launches are very routine. Gotta say, this was the 10th launch of Falcon 9. So overall, this was their 15th launch for SpaceX, counting the 5 ones from Falcon 1. And they were already saying back then, I'm assuming that whoever said that in their media department got fired, because obviously that is totally not what SpaceX did afterwards. A lot of people got angry, and rightly so. And we finally got a stream for that launch, and afterwards we got streams for every single launch.
You know
So,
what I get angry about?
Go ahead.
Related. SpaceX used to so nicely give us the exact missions that each fairing half flew.
Oh.
It was so nice because then I could have a spreadsheet, I could keep track of it. I loved it. And then they stopped. And at least they would tell us how many times each one flew. I was like, okay, this is silly because you may as well tell us that information. But at least we know how many times each one is flying. Now they don't even give us that. And they had a 14th flight and a 15th flight of a fairing half, which were both records, that they never told us about until one of the SpaceX Twitter affiliates talked about it like several days after the 15th flight happened. Why can't you tell us this? I want to know about fairings.
Trevor rant here, but yeah, it was interesting that you mentioned, Chris, like the 10th flight of a Starship, because by the 10th flight of Falcon 9, again, I'm mostly sure that whoever said that at SpaceX Media got fired afterwards, because you know the shift in the company culture and things like that changed afterwards with how they shared streams and things like that, and it definitely shows, right, that even back then things were so much different. Now we're like on the 10th launch of the month and things like that, right? It's quite wild how things have changed in a matter of like a decade in terms of the mindset, and it's gonna change a lot more in a decade, I'm mostly sure.
The thing with me is, it's one, the vehicle, the size of it, the power of it, the visuals of it, but also the fact that it's got an evolution in mission objectives. So we're not going to get rinse and repeat IFT3 style missions for 2020 launches. The idea is that we're going to eventually see differences in both the vehicle's capabilities and mission objectives, to the point that it's going to be ready for the Artemis missions. So we can talk about the moon. We're talking about the other commercial missions that SpaceX will be using Starship 4 from Starlink upwards to these massive payloads, potential Hubble retrieval, which I really want to see happen. Elon did reply to a tweet of mine once, just saying yes to that question. I think it's more about the capability of it rather than being a thing that they're thinking of. But there's lots of things there, and you're talking about crewed vehicles. It's a long time away yet. We are talking about crewed vehicles being a long point, and that vehicle's going to look beautiful. Imagine this vehicle with windows. It's going to look stunning. And again, that's a long way off, but we're talking about a vehicle that eventually will be taking mass payloads and then people to Mars. I just don't see the novelty ever wearing off, personally. I think there won't be that mass kind of like, ooh, it's going to blow up kind of like crowd that you always get in the early launches of rockets, but you'll probably have an evolution of the crowd where they're quite knowledgeable and they know what to expect and they're excited about what future things that could bring it. So I'm very hopeful for this rocket. and then in tandem with the other vehicles that are coming online, we've got SLS, which is going to be like every 2 years, maybe 1 year, maybe at the best. But you've got New Glenn. New Glenn is a big rocket. It's just shy of SLS in height. It is going to be an impressive thing to cover, and we've got cameras at the Space Coast Live, and literally one looking across at the pad, so we can cover that vehicle as well. I get really excited about the wealth of vehicles we can cover, because if you ever pigeonholed into one vehicle, it can be quite dangerous if there's ever a big delay. You're thinking, you're twiddling your thumbs, you know what's going to happen. But we've got so many vehicles to cover that I'm very excited about the amount of things we can do. I only fear for our team because everyone's going to be exhausted. So I want to just mention that you can join NSF. You know, if you've got a talent, if you've got something you're good at, we'd love to take people on and say, well, I'm at school, I'd like to talk about rockets on a stream. That's a tough ask because we have to have a modicum of people with some experience. So, but if you've got some experience, if you're a writer, if you're a commentator, you've got like I'm going to say sizzle reel of what you've done. Maybe that'll help us, and you'll go, oh, that person's good, and we'll bring you involved. So it's lots of opportunities at NSF to help us go forward with this coverage of these vehicles. I'm going a lot long-winded here, so I'll quickly catch up with where we're looking at, which is Ship 29. It's definitely detanking, isn't it, Alex?
Yeah, it is most definitely detanking. Now we see more defrost happening here on the vehicle, and obviously more activity from the tank farm visibly in that process of detanking. And yeah, it definitely looks like they aborted the test, which again, we were like, there were high chances that it was going to be a spin prime because we didn't get an overpressure notice. But as always, there's this low chance that it might become a static fire test. Sadly, we didn't see neither of those, and now they're detanking, so hopefully they can try again soon.
The fun thing is, when we say, well, we're going to end this stream now because obviously it's detanking, we're talking for hours if they're going to even recycle. We never lose the live coverage. We're constantly live. We're 24/7 live on Space Coast Live. I've got it on my head now because of New Glenn, Starbase Live, which we'll be throwing to when we end this commentary stream. But that means we're always live with all the cameras, and we don't miss a thing that way. And if it ever came to it, we can turn the microphone on. It's simple as that on Starbase Live. I'm going to say Space Coast Live for the rest of the day now. I'm sorry, I was helping now. It's in my head. But I want to thank some more people because, again, this is incredible. This stream has been incredible support for what we even advertised it as potentially as a spin prime test, which is not the most exciting of the tests, especially compared to static fires and especially compared to full stacks and especially compared to IFT3's launch. So the fact that people are supporting the stream on a stream like this is really telling, and it's really appreciated. It really is. Sklav, I'm probably butchering your name, but there we go. Become a PadRep member. Thank you. Coco Cats has got something from the store. Let's see what you got from the store. I have to press a button, and it takes about 5 seconds for it to come up on the screen. Here we go. Wait for it. Wait for it. Come in. Ooh. Starbase Retro Beach Towel. It's a towel.
Is it a tea towel or a towel?
No, it's an actual towel. It's a real towel.
Beach
It's
towel.
not a tea towel. Yeah, it's a beach towel. Yes. Yes. You do not dry your dishes with that towel. Well, you could do, but you shouldn't. Anonymous has got something from the start. If there was ever to be point sites somewhere in Europe, probably one best would be the places with Northern Scotland. Yeah, well, that's funny. That's interesting because Saxford and Sutherland, 2 launch sites in the north of Scotland, are coming online. Saxford seems to be leading the race. It's even got £10 million of funding just the other day. So they're pushing forward with that one as well. It's a heck of a trip. People go to me going, oh, it's local to you, Chris. No, it's like a 12-hour drive. And then you got 3 ferries. And the most I've ever driven in my life is 2 hours. That was to London. I'm not going to do it again. So there's no trains.
The most you've driven?
Yeah, we don't drive much in this country. It costs too much for a start.
Wow.
Yeah. I know there's like Jack's driving from California to Texas and he's like, oh yeah, it's like 4,000 miles, whatever. I'm like, what? UK people, back me up. We're not big drivers, are we? If you said to a UK person, let's drive 12 hours, would you be full of hope and expectation, or would you be full of fear? I guarantee you it'll be the latter. It also costs you have to remortgage your house to pay for it in petrol. Anonymous, thank you very much for your support. Let's see what you got before I get on to petrol prices. Let's have a look. Wait for it. This banner will go back and then a new banner will arrive. Here we come. Oh, we got a patch. That patch is going. Matthew has also got a load of things from us. Matthew and Michael, in fact. So let's go for Matthew first. Let me just see what you got. Waiting for the stream to catch up. Next time I might just press it a little bit in advance to see. In fact, you must have got it's come up with the same thing. You got a flight fee patch as well. Thank you very much for your support. That is amazing. Michael also says, let's go for flight 3. Barbara K says, you fellas rock. Thank you very much. And thank you for all the coverage. My kids and I love NSF. Oh, Krista, that's amazing. Thank you. That means a lot, because if you're getting kids excited into spaceflight, what an era to get excited into it as well, because this is where, unlike when I was probably a kid, which is going back many years, all there was space shuttle. I'm a child of shuttle. That was literally pretty much it. There was nothing else around. If you're a kid now getting into rockets, you've got a wealth of new rockets, exciting rockets as well that you can get into. So it's a much more interesting era to be involved in finding rockets as your subject of interest. So I think that's a fantastic thing. Well done. Okay, I think we shall probably come to the end of the stream now, because I said we're going to go to the top of the hour, and we're getting close to the top of the hour. So I was going to thank who was on stream earlier, which was Ryan. Thank you to Ryan for being on. Also, thank you for Alex for staying on all the way through, as you always do. Thank you, Alex.
You're welcome, and see you all on the next one, which I don't know what could be, because SpaceX is too busy these days, so see you later.
Yes, and thank you also to Trevor. Thank you, Trevor.
Yeah, of course. I learned way more about towels than I would have expected at the start of the stream, but it was a good stream nonetheless.
There's one quick thank you, Duke Nukem. Thank you for the great coverage of what has been an incredible time in history. Well, thank you for that. I just wanted to quickly read out. I don't want to leave that left without mentioning, so thank you for that. So we're going to throw to Starbase Live. I said it right this time. Way Starbase Live for continued 24/7 coverage of the vehicles, which is on the left-hand side, Ship 29, which is detanking, Ship 28 on the right-hand side. We're expecting the next milestones to be flight termination system installation onto to Ship 28. Then they'll put it onto the full stack again, and then we'll be looking forward to potentially the launch of IFT3 next week. Earliest is May the 14th. It may slip, it may not, but that's the target, the official target now, May 14th, for the third flight of the world's most powerful rocket ever built. That's not even an exaggeration, it's simply a factual case. The world's most powerful and largest vehicle ever built may be launching again for the third time on March 14, and we'll be covering it completely and fully live with all our cameras on that day, and I can't personally wait until that day comes around. So until then,
I believe you said the wrong month. You said May.
Did I say May?
Yes.
Well, it's been delayed 2 months, everybody. Sorry about that. March the 14th. There we go, yes. I was probably distracted because we come to the end of the stream. There's several things to do. March the 14th. Basically, you know, it's next week, isn't it? So let's face it. Coming up soon. I'm sure you all know the date by now because we've been on all over X for the last several days. March the 14th, potentially, for the flight of the world's largest rocket for the third time. I think at that point I probably should end this because obviously my brain is dying. I shall quickly hand you all over to Starbase Live. Thank you for joining us and goodbye.
Where's?
And here we go. We have liftoff. Propulsion continues to be normal.
RCPA chamber pressure looks good.
Doubling up. Roger, roll, planet.
Water towers, fly! Yes! Tango down to nominal.
Flight comes IFT off. Bring in FT off. It's orange!
Oh my god! Oh my god!
Décollage!
43 unfolds to go. Indeed. We rise together, back to the moon and beyond.
This methane will be igniting in the flare, correct?
Yikes. You bet. We don't need any more of these.